Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin. He'll be on with me in a second. There he is. Joel, good morning. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Dennis is still out. He'll be back with us on Thursday. Oh, man, a lot to talk about this morning. I imagine if you are short Bitcoin, long China, you're probably having the worst morning of your life here because Bitcoin is ripping. China is doing the opposite of whatever ripping is, maybe going through the floor again. We'll talk about all that. We've got a big week for earnings. This is the week. I think like a quarter of the S&P 500 reports earnings this week. It's ridiculous. We got Tesla tonight. Tomorrow is Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, AMD. Facebook is Wednesday. Amazon's Thursday. It's just this is the week for earnings, but we will talk about that. Don't forget we have a Fed meeting this week as well. So a lot to get to on today's show. Tim Quast will be on at 8:35 as he is every Monday to talk market structure, and Matt Hammond will preview the week in IPOs at 9 from IPOwarriors.com. In the meantime, smash the like button, and also while I'm at it, I will mention that today's show is sponsored by Market Structure Edge, the first decision support platform for traders built on market structure. To learn more, go to marketstructureedge.com. Joel, bring up your charts, please. But actually, before you do that, how was your weekend? Let's start there. How was your weekend?
And what about August 21st, Spencer? Did you have that in front of you?
Yes, good point. August 21st, the Introduction to Professional Trading webinar, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Webinar with PreMarket Prep is not sold out, just to clarify that. Let me put the link in the chat. Okay. Dennis, Joel, full day, education, link, boom, there it is in the chat. Click on it, memorize it, bookmark it, August 21st, 9 to noon with 3 hours.
On a Saturday. On a Saturday in August. And we'll have our undivided attention for 3 hours that day. What more could you ask for? Nice range in the S&P 500 index futures. Opened up. Just sniffed that close, that all-time closing high, 44.03. Went to 05 and a quarter. So you have your whole area. You have the all-time closing high. You have the pre-market high, and then Friday's high at 08 and a quarter. So that's what you need. Need to barrel through that. Let's work our way into the 4,400 handle. Crude down 21 cents at 71.86. Just hanging out. We took back half of the move, but let's see if we're going to struggle here. And do we have 3 highs in the same area? Because you know that's kind of formation I'd love to look at. Let's look at the high from Thursday. Let's see. High from Thursday was 72.03, 72.21, and then 72.43 today. 72 marks the spot there in crude oil. Close above there, then go ahead. Why not go back to 76? If not, we'll see what work we got to do on the downside. Gold refuses to give away that $1,800 level, at least as of yet. We're up $6.10 at 1807.90. I'm not going to get excited on the gold long side till we can get over 1840. Silver, it gave you a chance to buy it under 25 a couple days last week. Now working its way up towards 25 and a half. Up almost 20 cents at 25.43. Bitcoin futures, we could talk more about them in a second. Sleepy sell-off, and then a rebound, and then the news. Up $6,250 at 38,485. Let's maybe look at 41 here on this move. And Ethereum, that's up not as much on a percentage basis. That's up $317 at 23.41. 0.75.
All right. Maybe we should just start on the Bitcoin thing. All right. Chat, yes or no? Is Bitcoin just the most manipulated market like in the world right now, because it has to be. It has to be. Oh, randomly on a Sunday night, we decide we're going to start buying Bitcoin up, and wait a minute, there's this report from City AM, which I bet most of you have never even heard of before. City AM reporting that Amazon is looking to accept Bitcoin payments by the end of the year, per some random anonymous insider. Okay. Oh, and I know there's also this job listing, right? This digital currency and blockchain product job listing on Amazon. Yay, Amazon's doing Bitcoin. Let's all buy Bitcoin up $7,000-8,000. No, come on. This is ridiculous, right? And I'm mad because I mentioned buying more.
Yeah, a lot of people
last week, and I didn't. But this is like the most manipulated market in the world, right? It's just on a Sunday night. When else would you do it, Joel?
Oh, maybe Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. I mean, we've talked about this before and some of the moves, and just said looking at that daily chart. I mean, going back just the quiet ranges, it was due. It was due for a big move, and you had the support to lean on. It came back in, couldn't quite. Just look how compressed it was. It was almost like you had someone selling there, just knowing who they wanted to buy. Right. And that's a different kind of seller. You can offer it out with size and knock it down, not necessarily hitting bids. They walked it down. Now, well, really not a gap up because we know how it trades, 24/7. We do have some. I'm going to stick with this 41,000 level. I mean, of course, there's some stuff above, some stuff below, but really not too much until you get out there. Now, break out above 41. Would be important. Also, we never really have had a big test of the 65 to 30 breakdown. And what I mean by that is that's a 35K move, right? So half of that would be 17. That would take you up to 47, 48. If you want to get a little bit more bullish, but nice move off the low. I'm sure all the Bitcoin stocks are moving along with it. It's just consolidation periods, folks. Consolidation periods lead to big moves. Just got to be patient.
Chris is saying, Chris is really getting in there now. Christopher Anthony Forsman saying Bitcoin's ripping because Elon needs to show a profit into earnings, which is tonight. Yeah, look, I'm not saying there isn't manipulation in other markets, but this Bitcoin market, you know what I think is like some whale somewhere just decided to buy a bunch of Bitcoin last night. And that's why we're higher. There's no reason. It's Amazon schmamazon, right? I mean, the headline is probably a coincidence. This whole market is just insane. It's just ridiculous. It's just, Joel, is this what it was like for you, like in the 80s on the floor? This is what it feels like, honestly.
The weekend trading, 24-hour market definitely has added a peculiar twist to it, right? That's all I'll say.
Okay, but and then so you look at Bitcoin, the coins. You obviously look at the Bitcoin stocks, right? So Coinbase is trading higher this morning. My whole filter is Bitcoin stocks, right? BT, Mara, Riot, right? All of them, Scan, right? CAN, they're all trading higher. What BITF Bitfarms is one that we don't talk about too often, but it's all SOS, right? The whole darn filter is Bitcoin stocks, crypto stocks this morning. I don't understand it. I was telling the guys before we came on, I'm pissed off. I should have bought more on Friday. I didn't. I should buy more today. And Mitch was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Buy into weakness. He is right. But I'm like revenge trading here this morning. I'm angry at myself. This is what I am.
Yeah, actually, well, you wouldn't be buying the high of the day because it did get up to 39,395. That's on the futures. I just want to see what happened, and this is why I kind of like the Merck contract and the Bitcoin.
Yeah,
because I could see the open interest.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see if anyone was accumulating here. If the open interest was going up here, and I should have looked at this on Friday. Look at this. The open interest. Oh no, it was the volume. The Friday was no, really not much. Wow, the open interest unchanged and the volume the change. So let's see. We'll be interesting to see if you get a big jump in open interest today. But do you want to look at some of the stocks, or do you want to look at some other things that are moving? Do you want to preview? I mean, I go back in following earnings seasons for like 100 years,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've seen a week or a day or 2 days where you're just going to get so much information.
Well, I mean, every quarter they're all bunched up.
Pretty close, right?
I don't remember a day where 3 of the FANG stocks reported together. I remember there are definitely days where like we'll get Apple and Amazon, right, or Apple and Facebook, or Amazon and Facebook. But I don't remember a day where Apple, Alphabet, and Microsoft all report together. So you know they're typically all in the same week, and especially Tuesday through Thursday, not really Monday and Friday, but Tuesday through Thursday of 1 week. But yeah, the fact that we have 3 FANG stocks report tomorrow is it's bunched up for sure. So tomorrow's going to be a really big day. Just on the news front. And this week, I get the sense that we're sort of meandering here a little bit this morning. I get the sense everyone just sort of waiting for that, and also whatever the Fed says on Wednesday. But I get the sense that just sort of sitting on hands, right? Unless you're in Bitcoin or unless you're in China stocks, you're just sitting on your hands here, more or less.
Okay, so you mentioned like the 3 out of 4, but what you guys know how I like to combine the 2 Googles as one company, right? So if the market cap of it, so basically you have 5 out of the top 6 companies in the S&P 500. The only one that's interrupting there is Berkshire happened to jump ahead of Tesla. So you have 5, and that represents 23% of the index. So 5 companies, 23% of the index. I mean, there you go. I mean, if very bummed. I mean, I'm going to be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But
okay,
yeah,
you'll be here for most of the fireworks.
Yeah, most of the fireworks. Yeah. But and here we are, just sitting at the door. All-time high. So we know which way. The street's leaning. Someone asked here about just real quick. I want to throw Cliff in here because they had earnings last week, and it was the pre-market prep stock of the day. You know what? They shrugged off that report, and they hit it, and it came back. So up 14 cents today. It looked clear to. As of right now, you're clearing a pair of highs from Thursday and Friday. So Cliff's not looking too bad here off the report. Looks like you have some room up to 23. And I see Alan Moore in the house, and I know Alan is following Sava very closely. And what I was I forgot to email him, but 123, man. I know you're trading 129, but you see 2 lows within 50 cents on this crazy stock. So, and actually, if you go back to the 3-day low, is 122.42. 123 marks the spot. I know this thing can reverse in a heartbeat, but I'd keep a sharp focus on that support at 123. And Sava, let it ride on the upside.
Okay, let's talk about China for a second. Let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson in being a hero and catching a falling knife, because what's happened here over the weekend is we had the report last Friday. It was from Bloomberg. The government is looking to make some very drastic changes with regards to how they regulate the online education industry and others. Companies, both the government and several companies, have now confirmed that fact. So if you thought the sell-off was bad last week, wait till you look this morning at TAL or EDU, or frankly, every single Chinese stock.
How's BABA get thrown into this?
Because BABA's bounced a little bit this morning because BABA's like on the spectrum. BABA is probably more towards the safe side than the at-risk side, because they're huge and they're so diversified, and they already went through this thing, right? They just kind of got out of it with the Ant Financial thing and the fine that they paid. But every single Chinese stock down this morning. TAL, EDU, there's like 20 or 30 of them, right? I can give you all the tickers, but just go to your filter and Benzinga program movers tool. You can see them all right there. I mean, every single Chinese stock is down. this morning. You don't have to be in the education space to be feeling it. You can look at DD, which is down, got to 650 this morning. And yeah, it is a bloodbath. I saw so one of the analysts said the worst case scenario has happened, and that's putting it lightly, I think. So we said Friday. I said Friday. The game is over. And if you were like, no, I'm going to be a hero, I'm going to buy this dip because dips are to be bought, you're paying for it this morning, I think.
Well, I'm just as puzzled on today as I was on Friday.
Yeah.
Of what the end game is there by sabotaging their own company. So it's
just control. It just comes down to control.
Exactly.
Think, right. But I mean, you have to figure. So like on the spectrum of companies that are being delisted versus ones that are probably quote unquote safer, right? You got to assume that the JDs, the Baidus, the Babas of the world, which have all bounced this morning, are all safer. And I put safer in quotes because you don't really know here. But compared to like, the DDs of the world or the TALs of the world or the EDUs of the world, right? I put NEO in that former group as well. One thing that's interesting is, so obviously the analysts are coming out in full force this morning, downgrading all these Chinese stocks. Goldman Sachs is interesting here because they are downgrading a bunch of Chinese education stocks. They're downgrading GOTU, TAL, and EDU, downgrading all to, they're downgrading GOTU to sell. Okay, that makes sense, right? But TAL and EDU are down to neutral. They're down to neutral. They're neutral on these stocks. What will it take? And I understand that these guys are, have fancy educations and they do fancy models. Things they do things I don't know how to do. I'm just some schmuck on the internet. But like, what will it take to go to sell? Seriously. On TAL and EDU, Goldman Sachs, what will it take for you?
I don't know.
Put a sell rating, and the TAL price target is 560. Where's TAL right now? It's like 460, right? It's 440. What will it take, guys, to say sell? Because the government saying we're gonna delist the whole industry is not enough to go to sell on TAL and EDU for Goldman Sachs. What will it take, guys? I don't understand it. That just makes this is why people get frustrated with the analysts, because like do all the models and the DCFs, do all you want to do, right? But like the government is saying we're gonna take our ball and go home, and here you're saying, oh yeah, down to neutral for sure, definitely neutral on this stock. We don't know if we're gonna buy or sell it. We're neutral. It makes no sense.
I think the one to buy, the one education stock to buy, is the one that brings pre-market prep education to China. I really think that's what they're waiting for.
Okay,
they want more market education.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look at Baba here because it's the best in breed, supposedly.
Supposedly, and also, but like they already went through this stuff. We already had this problem with Baba, and they're theoretically like out of the woods because they paid a fine. They had the Ant Financial thing, and they paid a fine for that, and they're changing the regulatory structure of the company or whatever, or of Ant.
I know,
and they're maybe opening their doors up to work with Tencent more closely. And, theoretically, Baba, again, on the spectrum, more towards the safe side in this country, if there is a safe side.
Well, there's no safe being right here. Once again, the little bit of the overreaction on that 4 a.m. open got down to 196 and a quarter. Now, the former low of the move was 198.26. Now, you're teetering just above that right now, down 753 at 199. I think if you'll see some buyers here, perhaps between the pre-market low 198.26 and then that was the former low of the move. I mean, it's hard to short it down here after a 7-point move. It seems like you want to kind of be coming in short overnight on this. But right now we'll use the that early morning low. It's actually 196.13 to 198.26. I'll call that buy if you're covering short range. I don't know where or when to go on this.
Yeah.
You can lean on that 196 Vegas. If you're stepping out here at 199, you're risking $3. So a lot of the price action here. 2 big gap down days in a row. Does Baba report, or really does that really make no difference to what's going on?
Do the numbers matter at all? Let's look.
I don't think anything matters.
Because I don't actually know. They're later typically. Oh no, yeah, they're in 8 days. It says
8 days.
It was August 3rd in the morning is when they report. So and while we're at it, August 3rd. I don't think Baidu's confirmed yet. JD, I don't know. Anyway, because
I like Christopher Forsman. He's like, he's doing an if-then scenario.
Good stuff.
If this holds this level, he's gonna take a look at it. He's not saying it's gonna hold this level.
Yeah,
it's an if-then. So I think
that's great. That's how you think about it, or you think.
And then you buy it, it holds, and you come in and it's at 191 tomorrow. But I mean, there's not much you do that. The futures made their dip around 430. We were a good 20 handles lower and just fighting back. We're in the red just a little bit, only 6 1/4 handles, but just putting last week into perspective. I mean, we were down about 90 handles, and we ended up 80 handles, and we took out the all-time high by 24 points. So yeah, there's a little red on the screen here, folks, but man, just after that week from last week, it's to be expected.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that. I mean, we closed at did we close at all-time highs or
yeah by over 30 handles. The former all-time closing high was 67.75.
No, I meant that we closed at compared to the intraday high is what I meant.
Well, what happened is we hit 08 1/4. That's 44.08 1/4, and then they settled it at 03.
Okay.
And then you know how I like to watch the 5 to 6 trading, or excuse me, the 4 to 5 trading.
Right.
They shaved another 4 points off it there.
Right,
so
whatever.
we're basically right where we are at 6 o'clock. I mean, you had behind the dip was at 4:30 this morning, at least at this point.
Yeah.
At 8:22.
Okay, so we obviously closed it. It was a new closing high. It wasn't a new all-time high compared to the intraday, but all-time highs are semantics. We're at all-time highs is the bottom line here.
Closing highs, you guys know that's what I like to emphasize.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep that in mind. For all the talks about Delta variant, this, inflation, that, all-time highs.
Mr. Gottlieb was on today, and you know what? He was like, I think he was a little tired. He had a rough night last night because he wasn't on the screen. And usually he's on the screen. He's got the tie on and everything, and it was just like a still picture. And he sounded a little tired. That's just pure speculation and conjecture.
I don't know what that has to do with the price of tea in China, but
that's a dad saying. That's a dad saying. And I'm looking. Hey, folks, you're going to be really bored now. I got a dad calendar.
Oh,
yes. And so I was a little late arriving for Father's Day.
Okay.
So if I remember, I'm going to get to say a dad thing every day.
So what's today's? Let's go.
Well, I like the weekends too. The weekends, dads love saying, "Don't spend it all in one place." After giving kids a very small amount of money,
I've definitely said that and been told that.
Okay, and then today's is dads love saying it's a scorcher when it's hot outside. Did my dad do this? Did they talk to my dad?
It's so accurate. It's scary.
I know. So you guys are going to have to put up with the old dad jokes. I know it's not a big thing on Reddit or Wall Street bets.
Someone in chat just asked what the big China index is. You can look at FXI is your broad-based.
Horrible looking.
You can look at KWeb is internet specific. But even the EEM, right, the emerging markets ETF has a lot of China in it. So depends on how broad you want to get. EEM is broad, FXI a little bit more narrow, KWeb a little bit more narrow than that.
Spencer does not have a kid. I'm the one.
No, but I'm a dad at heart.
Yes. You got that old soul.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on.
Okay.
I mean, do you want to cover
a couple earnings here?
Okay, let's go to earnings.
We had a
Earnings are
couple,
good.
earnings this morning. We had Lockheed Martin and we had Hasbro. So let's go to Lockheed Martin first. LMT. We haven't talked about this one for a while on the show. Q3 EPS. I can even share my screen and show you what I'm looking at. Q3 EPS is $6.52. Let me zoom in there. $6.52 versus a they missed by a penny, so basically in line. Sales 17.3 or 0.03, excuse me, versus $16.93 billion estimate. They reaffirmed their sales guidance and they raised their EPS guidance by about 1%. So okay, in line on the earnings, strong guidance going forward. What is the stock doing?
It's down 377. You had a spike to 371. Boy, this is a little bit tougher here. But I'm just looking at this chart. I'm looking at the price action, and I'm going to say I really can't get super excited on the upside until you take out this 384.5, 385. I mean, that's definitely the sign of some big boys selling there. Don't know if you're going to see it today after already trading down. They're trading down $4, but real long term, and I'm just not talking about today, tomorrow. The monthlies are also giving you that kind of indication that that's resistance. It was resistance the last three May or April, May, and June. So you see that also. So resistance much better, much more well defined. On support, I don't think you're going to see that pre-market low with the big bounce. But I do like the 370 to 371 area if you get down another $7.
And let's go to the other one, which is Hasbro here this morning. Here are the numbers: Q2 EPS $1.05 versus a 48-cent estimate. Sales of 1.32 versus $1.17 billion. So if I always look at Hasbro and Mattel together, if you go back long enough, you would see that Hasbro is historically the favorite of the two, but not in the last year. It hasn't been. Mattel has more than regained its pre-COVID losses. Hasbro has not yet gotten back to pre-COVID levels. That probably is indicative of, like, I don't know if you want to call it like a junk stock, where a lot of these, like, stocks that, let's just say, don't have the greatest balance sheets have outperformed right this year in the last 12 months or so. So Mattel is historically the weaker one, has been the stronger one in the last year compared to Hasbro. Hasbro is historically the stronger one of the two.
They got the Disney, right?
Yeah, they got the Disney.
Well, look at this chart, and you guys aren't going to like this. I mean, look at all the major resistance in 98. I don't even know if if you get up there today, super interesting because you had 4 highs in that area. So let's call it 98, 30 as there's kind of a range there, but that is super resistance. On the downside here, you got to like the 91, and you're right. So obviously, whoever's trading this or putting it, in their portfolio or whatever they're trying to do, and it's taking them like 3-4 days to do it. Here they were a buyer. They were unloading 3 or 4 days here. There's a resistance. Right now, you're not seeing any kind of pattern to say that there's big accumulation, and you're exactly in the middle. You did spike up to just over 96.5. See if we can hold those gains. 95.29. We are above it. No, right now we're not above it. Let's use 95.29 just as a 1-star resistance because it's early, and then see what happens in this bar right here. I mean, a lot of people are looking to get that. Was a big fall. That wasn't even Monday either. I wonder if it had a downgrade or whatever. But 95.29, then all that resistance at 98, and then if I was looking to add this, I'd have to wait for it to closer to get to $91.
So while you're at it, pull up Mattel, which is historically the weak one of the two, and yet more than is back to pre-COVID levels and then some.
It's just because it was just a smaller stock.
Yeah.
Right. And wasn't there some takeover talk with this one too? Some merger talk or takeover talk?
Was there? Oh, I don't know if I remember.
Help me out, chat.
I believe you. Here,
how about if I give you a day? How about
here.
April 23rd.
Of this year?
Yeah, it spiked to 23.31 on April 23rd. Was there any? Wow,
No,
this thing was trading
no.
$20.
I
How the hell did this get to 20?
I don't see anything.
Mm.
How to get to 20? That's
yeah, I guess.
it got to 23. I'm seeing actually.
I know it's so funny. You take these stocks off your screen for so long, but yeah, I mean, you know, what are kids? What are the toys? What are kids playing with nowadays?
I don't. That's what we've been saying for years, Joel. And
the internet.
And here we are. And yet here we are. You know. So, all right. 8:31. We're gonna have Tim Quast join us in a couple of minutes. Oh wait, what did I just want to? I just had something to say, and I forgot what it was. Shoot. Darn it. I was gonna bring up a new one, and I don't remember what I was gonna bring up. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a couple more earnings. Whatever. I'll remember it eventually.
Sure.
We nothing too major, right? We had Pet Med Express, which is PETS, and we had the other big one this morning was oh my goodness, Lennox. But let's go to pets real fast here. I hope I remember what I was going to say. PETS, they missed on their EPS, 22 cents versus
not good.
Sales. This is a small one though. Sales of 79 cents versus 86 cents. So this one is just out though, a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and right now someone has their foot on it hard, just knocking it down $4 from where it was trading. Taking out the low of the move, so the low of the move, street leaning short into this report. And wow, what happened in June? This must have had a Reddit run. Resistance now will be the low from Friday at 27.07. And if you want to go to the monthlies here, you just might want to be patient if you're not in this one. I see a monthly low at 21.20, 21.46, and 22. So maybe not today, but kind of looks like that's where we're heading here. 21 to 22. As I said, on the upside, top of yesterday's range, 27.07. They'll have to have like a miracle on their conference call, but in order to get it up there. So that's what you're looking at.
I know what I was going to say. I was going to ask you, you mentioned 1-star resistance. Can you briefly explain the star system?
Oh, the star system is just what I do for levels in the SPOOs or whatever else I'm tracking. And like a 1-star is like, like it was a reference point, right? A 2-star is either a daily high, or a daily low. The market is stopped there twice, right? A 3-star, you start talking about a double top, a triple top, an area where the market maybe it's had 2 highs in the same area, and it was also a former support level. So it's random, but it's what I do. And so when I say a 1-star, it's like but it's the evolution. A 1-star can turn into a 2-star, that can turn into a 3-star. That and sometimes I get a little crazy with like a 6-star, like 84.50 in the SPOOs on Friday was a 6-star because it was the all-time high, and it was backed up by another high at that area at 83.75. But just with the market floating up here, folks, there's not a lot of there's no 3-stars. No, not a lot today. Just unknown, man. I don't have no reference points. It's better when my levels are better when the market backs away from significant areas, or else I'm just trying to always pick a top. How is that for you?
Generally picking a top in this market has
like if I say it's a 3-star or a 4-star, that means I have, and then Triple D, we'll talk about it, and we'll I'll tell you. SPOOs is the S&P 500 index.
Yeah.
A lot of people call it SPOOS. I go with SPUS. It's the way it was back on the floor. That's the March contract, which we're currently trading ESU.
Bitcoin trying to get to new highs for the morning. It looks like we're going to see that at some point.
39,395. Like just an example here.
Sure.
If Bitcoin was to continue to rally today, I would put 41K as a 3-star. That's yep. Just because top of the range, I've had this line up here for a while. Boom. There you go. There's your three star.
All right. It's 8:35 on a Monday.
And you got to do Dennis's dance because he's not here.
Maybe. Oh, okay. There we go. Tim Quast. Oh, I forgot to bring him on. There he is. Tim Quast, Market Structure Edge. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. That was actually a pretty good Dennis impression that you did there, Spencer.
Spent the weekend working on that.
He's got some competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you know what I did with my Sunday. Tim, how was your week? How was your weekend? What's on your radar this morning?
I'll tell you, it's been busy. The weekend, of course, was highlighted by a Benzinga boot camp, that's a delight to me because what I despise is when the weekend comes along and interrupts my work and my focus on market structure. So I was delighted that I had a chance to yammer on about market structure on a Saturday.
The weekends are just inconvenient. So, all right, tell us.
You want to go to 7-day? You want to go to 24/7 trading?
Right. Well,
is that what you want, Tim?
Right. I think just sitting around enjoying the weekend, that's got to stop. That's well,
then get dirty in Bitcoin then. Roll up your sleeves and get in some Bitcoin, and you can trade all. You can. How would you do a market structure on Bitcoin?
Well, we would need a massive government regulatory overlay before I could do that because the math of market structure, and I'm a libertarian guy, so there you have it.
Don't get things going in the politics show on this. Okay?
That's right. So the trouble is that Bitcoin it's really a free market. So it's difficult to model fear and greed. It's very easy to model the order protection rule. That we can do, and that's what we do with market structure sentiment. We can measure mathematically what will happen if you have to trade between the best bid and offer, and there's an interconnected market that requires the bid and offer to always be separated. The bid can't be the same or higher than the offer. Well, all of that's mathematical, and Bitcoin does not have that at this point. So we would have to rely on good old human intuition in Bitcoin.
Okay. Tim, briefly summarize for us what you talked about at the boot camp on Saturday.
I will actually be brief, Spencer, which does not come naturally to me. Yes. So we talked about why at options expirations the market tends to do things that cause pundits to believe that it's the Delta variant, peak growth, inflation, and everybody wrings their hands, and then the market returns to rising. And what causes that? And the simple answer is that as large and implacable and immovable as the $50 trillion U.S. equity market appears to be, underneath it and rolling along is a $665 trillion derivatives market. And if you're going to reset derivatives, it could shudder and shake the equity structure. And people don't think about that. We can see $50 trillion of market cap. We can't see the $665 trillion particularly the part of that is over the counter of derivatives, and whether they're increasing or decreasing. Are people rolling those? Are they letting them go? And what effect will that have on how your stocks behave? And this is why traders have to have a baseline. You don't have to know all the details, but you should know that about the third week of every month, there's going to be a pothole in the equity market. And if you look at May, June, and July, all of them have one big down day right during options expirations. That's what we talked about.
When you say derivatives, I guess how much of the derivatives market is options? I mean, I'm wondering if we just, it's not the whole thing. Obviously, there's a lot of really exotic stuff out there, but we generally we use options as a proxy for the derivatives, but it's not quite the same. But how much of that is just options?
It's less than 5%.
What?
Yes, so the exchange traded options and futures markets together are, let's call it 80 trillion, but about 35 trillion of that is options. So believe it or not, as much as we focus on those,
what's the rest of it? Super exotic mortgage-backed securities? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Right. Swaps, contracts for difference.
Okay.
Contracts for difference swaps are far and away the bulk of these contracts. And the biggest part of them are currencies and interest rates. So if currencies fluctuate, if interest rates are volatile, those things are that will manifest. It will show up in equities because equities are being wagged by the dog. We use this story of the tail wagging the dog. No, the derivatives are the dog. Equities are the tail that get wagged by it. That by itself tells us something. The trouble, the risk when it manifests is it won't be in equities because everything's awesome in equities. The trouble is our derivatives getting so expensive because there's so much effort to leverage and protect against unknowns that the threat develops there.
Wait. When you say contracts for difference, I thought those weren't even legal in the U.S.
Oh, they're massive. Of course, they're huge. Their contracts for difference are everywhere. We only see little bits and pieces of it, like we did in March when we had this Archegos Capital blow up. And when did it hit? Right after options expirations. We saw it in the data during options expirations, and we're scratching our heads. We're saying, what in the world is going on? Because things are moving the exact opposite way that they should be, and that's what it turned out to be. But they're everywhere.
I understand that contracts for difference are legal, are popular in Europe, as Vegas is saying in our chat. But I really did think that they were not legal. Maybe they're not legal for like the average retail trader in the U.S. Maybe that's
well. You would have to be an evil rich capitalist like me.
Okay.
You have to be a qualified investor to participate in those kinds of vehicles.
Okay.
But your bank is doing it.
Okay.
Your exchange traded provider is doing it. Schwab is doing it.
Okay.
Fidelity's doing it. BlackRock, you can read a BlackRock prospectus and look at all the exotic instruments they talk about that they will invest proceeds from an ETF into. So yes.
So take away derivatives market shakes that cause overall markets to shake, and don't forget that on the third Friday of the month. All right, let's talk about this week and what is on your radar as far as market structure. And we've got the Robinhood IPO on Thursday, I believe, and
which you have no data on, right? So that Tim, obviously. How do you do? Just curiously, how long does a stock have to trade in order for you to come up with a market structure profile?
Great question, Joel. 20 days. We need for good comparatives. Because that's you're exactly right. We want to measure behaviors. We talk about how price and volume are consequences, not metrics. We want to understand the behaviors behind them. So in order to do that and to develop a central tendency, what are the probabilities and the movements of behaviors that are going to impact price and volume? We like 20 days. That's what we need. Because we use 5-day increments in comparatives, and so that's what we need in the data set. Good question.
Okay.
So you asked Spencer what we're looking at. I'm going to share my screen here because there are 1,000 companies reporting results this week. It's not the biggest, but so we go from, let's call it about 300 last week as we just got into reporting seasons. The banks tend to lead the big financials. There we are on the screen. Then we hit 1,000 this week, 1,600 next week, then about another 1,000, and then we'll be into the dribbles. But this is a big week, and so of course everybody's attention is on particularly the component of the FANGs are reporting this week, and boy, if you're watching CNBC, which not that I'm suggesting that you do, you should be watching here. All the talk is about the FANGs and how they're going to do. And I like to remind traders, by the way, you can do this, traders. You can follow along. You can do exactly what I'm doing. Just put your name and email in. You don't need a credit card. Go to marketstructureedge.com. If you want, you can cut straight to app.marketstructureedge.com.
I will mention the link is in the description if you're looking for it.
Good. Okay. So do what I'm doing. What determines how stocks will behave with earnings is demand and supply. That is the essence of what we talked about in the boot camp on Saturday. And I use that sequence on purpose. You say supply and demand. Yes, we like to think of demand as market structure sentiment. So if I'm looking at airlines and cruise ships and the demand line is way below 5 and all the gains come above 5, well, I'm not buying airlines and cruise ships. And then the supply line is short volume. The market depends on borrowed stock. That's how the market works. So the confluence of those things will tell us how things will behave. So if we go here to the Benzinga pre-market prep July 26 portfolio with 7 companies in it, the demand line is not great. The supply line is about at trend, but the trend is up. These things are not awesome. So, what we prefer to buy, here's what I want to buy. If it was building materials, I buy a ramping demand side and a supply curve that is well below the trend. That's going to give me good gains. And that, by the way, this is where I made all of my returns in the last 2 weeks, because the market, all the math told me that's where to be. And so that's what you look for. And it's hard to find, even though the market appears to be doing very well. If we look at these, here's the number of the companies reporting. I kept Netflix in here because it did report, and it's very telling. But you want to understand demand and supply, traders. Yeah. It doesn't matter how well a company does. Lockheed Martin had very good results. How's it going to do? You always want to check. Go look at the market structure profile. What is demand? What is supply? That will 8 out of 10 times determine what happens. And if we look at Netflix, I'm just going to click on the data visuals here. Here's what was happening beforehand. The demand side was fine. I mean, it had peaked back here, but it was at 5. That's okay. But look at the supply side. The supply side was rising. If demand is flat and supply is increasing, price will go down. It's just math. And so I wouldn't, I'm not going to buy Netflix.
Could you give me a date? Could you so I could just look at it in reference to the chart?
Sure. So where I would say there would be trouble is right here, about right at options expiration. So 16th was the day when options expired, and I look at Netflix, and it's at 5, but short volume is over 50%. Over 50% of the trading volume in Netflix was coming from borrowed stock. Well, all that has to happen is for one institutional investor to go, I'm going to read Netflix's results, and that absence of demand against high supply will bring the price down. And that's what happened. So the real place to leave is when the demand curve begins to fall. So you want to leave in early July. That's where you would leave. So what if the stock went up a hair more? You would have avoided the losses. That's the best thing. That's how I think about it. And so Netflix would have told us traders, don't be in Netflix. So let's take Tesla, right? How about Tesla? Well, it's a 3-4 down, 42% short. Passive money is the lead behavior. So we don't like to buy falling sentiment. We like to buy rising sentiment. So right there, we would already know, well, am I going to buy this? Probably not. And look at it's not, here's the demand side. The demand side has not been good since June. It was really, we leave in June, or right at the confluence of June and July. Right now, sentiment is below 5. So there is more supply. The demands or the supply line is okay, but the demand side is not good. And so if stocks produce gains when they're above 5, and Tesla is no exception. So again, I don't care how good Tesla's numbers may be, and they may be very good. I'm not buying Tesla.
But last week, and I know things change, based on the market activity. But last week, when we were looking in the abyss, you were looking at Tesla as a possible lock.
Right. That's because demand was rising. Demand was rising and supply was flat. So, and I traded Tesla. I traded Tesla on rising demand and flat supply, but I left fast. 2 days and I'm out. That's it. I'm going to, as soon as it tops, I'm out. I'm not going to battle the math. I'm not going to second guess the math. If the sentiment stops rising, I leave. And it's because
how soon after the close
I'm not smart enough to outthink the math, right?
How soon after the close do you get your new readings?
We get them about 11 p.m. Eastern time, but it doesn't matter. All I do each day is at about 6:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. I'm gonna look at my data. It'll all be. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I look at the data. I look at the things that I've been watching, and I make decisions. Then, based on what's happening in the futures market, I do look at it from this standpoint. It will help me determine whether I exit very early or later in the day. And you guys are expert traders. I'm less expert as a trader. I'm very expert in market structure, but I'm going to look at those things, and then I'll determine it. And and I use marketable trades more than limit orders because I don't want to tip my hand to anyone. I know how much of everything I can trade before the price changes, and I'm going to be under that. So if I'm buying and selling Tesla, I'm going to buy or sell less than $29,000 of it at a time, because I want to be where I know my broker is going to have to fill my trade at the best price or send it to somebody who will. I'm not going to put in a massive order that is going to tip the hand to everybody.
Tim Quast is the founder and CEO of Market Structure Edge. He joins us every Monday for Market Structure Mondays, giving us some trade ideas for the week. This week, not so bullish on Tesla. We'll find out how he did next week. Tim Quast, always a pleasure, sir. Oh, before I let you go,
Yes.
Please stay safe. I heard there are some fires out there, so please stay away from the fires.
We're doing okay, and we're actually headed to the Finger Lakes tomorrow, up in upstate New York. So
my parents were just there like a month ago. I've never been to that area of New York, but I hear it's beautiful. So
we'll report back. I'll give you a field report when we're back next.
All right.
Okay?
Glad you're away from that fires. Have a good one, Tim.
Thanks, guys. Have a good week. See ya.
All right. It is 8:51. Let's do some ticker time here for the last 9 minutes of Joel, and then we'll get Matt Hammond on to talk about the week in IPO land. So drop your tickers. I was going to ask Joel what he thought about Tesla, but I don't think we need to. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough going into the report here. It's not was it last quarter that they got the big tailwind from the Bitcoin? Right? Was it last quarter?
Yeah, they basically no, it was last quarter. They wouldn't have. What was it? It was they wouldn't have been profitable,
right?
If not for the rise of Bitcoin. I think that was.
And now Bitcoin has dropped 50%. Not 50% here. I don't know. It's a coin flip on that. It's also been in the middle of a trading range. For you after hours traders, this 640 level was important. The first time it came down hard, it came down to, 620. I'm sorry. You had 620 low a couple weeks ago, and that's where you hit on Monday. So that's your major support. And then you obviously shorter term here, if you're trading this, I still like the 664 area and then 700. So it should be an interesting report. First one to kick it off today. You probably, what was the range? Tight range on Friday. Ahead of the report, you might see another tight range again as traders square up heading into the report.
Okay, let's look at NVIDIA here for Jar Jar. NVIDIA, when did they report? Not this week. I can tell you that. I think NVIDIA reports. I think they're always late. They're always way late in the season. Didn't they just report like a couple of weeks ago for the last quarter?
When they had they adjusted, they had the split too. Right, that's when they did it. Yeah, so that was I believe that was in May.
They just reported for the prior quarter for 2 quarters ago. So they're always later in the season. But anyway, Jar Jar's asked about NVIDIA. So AMD reports tomorrow, so it can move off that.
It's still. Everyone had thought it was going to roll over and die after the split. That didn't happen. Did not happen. Trading down 285 here. The 50%'s like one at the 195 area. I would say, forget about the, this 197 high. I think if this is just gonna keep plowing, I think you're gonna get like in the 200. But to me, it had a huge run up after the split. It's hanging in there after the split, but where's the catalyst to get us back over to 200, go to 210? So a little bit cautious on NVIDIA up here. And actually, when I was looking at the top components in the index with the way this thing's been moving up, I gotta readjust because that's moved up into one of your top 10 largest components in the S&P 500 index with that huge price appreciation.
Yeah. Okay, there's a couple more from chat. Let's look at someone asked about Boeing a couple of times ago, a few minutes ago. Boeing had that dip. And
Man, yep, it had the dip, the rip. Keeping an eye on traded down $2 here, 225. There's your resistance. You came up just short of that on Friday. You also came up just short of that on last Friday. Traded down $1.82. If you feel like you missed the move and you want to get in on this dip, you fill a gap at 217.37. You're $2 away from that. You actually were, when the SPOOs were lower, they hit this thing down to 215. So you just get another reset here. It's just not. I mean, this thing is just so, so subject to like headlines, and they're mostly bad headlines. So not long-term bullish in it, but if you're looking for perhaps a lower risk entry point, 217.37 fills a gap that was created on July 21st.
Pritam is asking about a stock we talked about with Mitch this morning. Well, Mitch talked about it last week, and we talked about it last week as well, which is Roku. It just had this ridiculous move on Friday to coincide with the Olympics starting, and there's a bunch of stuff happening on Roku with the Olympics, and I know there are some headlines over the weekend that the ratings were down big for the ceremony, and no real surprise there. I don't know how much you watched this weekend, Joel. I watched some Olympics, and the no fans being in attendance definitely makes it more boring. But anyway, that aside, Roku is sitting pretty this morning. Down $2 from Friday afternoon, but still, sitting here at 473, which is
very nice. Yeah, huge.
Up basically $90 last week.
It kind of moved in it kind of had like the catalyst. They announced this on Tuesday, and then the actual opening ceremony was Friday. So you got the double boost. I think people are like, hey, NBC Universal, Roku, they like that. They like the association. The only thing I'm seeing here, and I see Friday's, what was Friday's high? We closed at 473.55, which happened to be the all-time closing high. Now, it's not the all-time high. The all-time high is 486.72. But from what I'm seeing right now, from what I'm seeing the price action on Friday, 475. That's right up there. Someone wants to sell some stock there. 497 high on Friday. Just about 475 the high. So if you're looking for a target or more, follow through on the upside, boom. Just got to take out that 475.
Okay. Mitch, you have thoughts here? I think you do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Roku gets to the 500 target I gave out early in the year. But really, the one thing that I'm watching today is to see if we get some sympathy moves in from Roku into Fubo or Vizio.
Oh, Fubo. We haven't talked Fubo much recently. I mean, we talked
about
it
I
every
watched
so
that
often.
chart today for sure.
Fubo is interesting.
Yeah, down
we know
30.
it has a backing at least. There's a lot of people still watching this one.
Fubo is interesting.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe I'm looking for this one. Maybe that's if you could slide to say. I know you're looking to go the opposite way today, but I look at this under $25 area. I mean, if you want to take a shot on it, I think you just got to lean under 25, and we're down 32 cents. Not much trading. Kind of sleepy, but see if you get a sympathy trade with Roku. And then what was the other one you mentioned? Vizio.
VZIO.
Yeah, this one's been hanging out. I had it at $21. I ended up selling this one at 26, just because it was just kind of going sideways right there. But I do think if it can get above that $27 level, that it has multiple wicks up there, I think it could really start getting running.
Yeah, the 28 is to me. I see the little bit of 27, but 28, two highs, not from 2 weeks ago, just above 28. Looks like 25 to 28 here has been the range going all the way back to the beginning of July. Kind of in the middle again, but good support and resistance.
All right, let's look at what do you want more? Let's look at
Logitech,
LOGI. They report tonight as well.
Interesting.
And not one we've looked at. This one traded. This is the primary market is over in Europe, but does trade here on the Nasdaq in the U.S. And this is another one where you would assume two things. You would assume strong demand, and you would assume supply chain problems, because that's how every technology product company is facing right now, right? So strong demand, supply chain issues are not super out of the realm of possibility here.
No, boy, oh boy. The major resistance is up near 128. That's not going to do any good today. I guess the only negative thing here, you did make a new low for the month this month, and you're kind of in that lower quadrant as well, 116.51. A lot of the price action has already been factored in as it's been trading overseas. I'd use 122.37 on the upside. That's your 2-day high, and then really don't see any better support down at 117. But 9 a.m. folks, Spoo's leaking a little bit here, but still in the 43.90 handle. I'm going to hop over to PreMarket Prep Plus and get all these symbols that we missed well as take a look at the big FANG stocks reporting today. So Spencer, right. I'll see you at 3:30.
Oh, we'll catch you at 3:30. For those asking where Dennis is, he's on vacation. He'll be back on Thursday, just in time for Joel to go out of town as well. So you got me and Joel today, tomorrow, Wednesday, me and Dennis Thursday and Friday. Okay, Matt Hammond will be joining us in a second here. Before he joins, a quick housekeeping note. David Green will not be on with us this week. He's taking the week off. So what we're going to do after Matt is I'm going to bring on, just like we did last Friday. We got some great feedback from last Friday. So I'm going to bring on a couple of my friends here at Benzinga, and we're just going to hang out and trade through the open. And that's what we'll do until about 10:30 or so. But that being said, it is Monday morning at 9 a.m. Let's look at the IPOs we're going to have this week. It is a big week on the IPO front. We already mentioned Robinhood. If you didn't watch the virtual roadshow yesterday, you should. It was interesting. I'm sure Matt has some thoughts here. So let's bring Matt Hammond on now from IPOwarriors.com. I hope he's ready. Matt, are you ready? Give me the thumbs up. I don't know if he's ready.
Doesn't look like it. I don't know if you can hear us yet.
All right, Matt's not ready. So
all right.
Matt will be ready in a second. Guys, before Matt, smash the like button. All right, let's go. Get me some likes. I don't ask you guys that often.
Smash up.
Come on, give us a like.
How about this? If we get to 300 likes in the next 5 minutes, I'll give all my watch list.
All right, Matt,
here.
thumbs up. You ready?
Watch list. I think he's ready.
I think Matt.
PowerPoint up.
I'm bringing you on, Matt. Whether or not you're ready.
He's ready to go.
Matt, you ready?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey, how we doing?
Got you, man.
Oh man, a little bit of technical difficulties again here out on Naxos Island. Behind me is the beach here, but yeah, prep for the show.
All right, let's get to it.
Cool. Well, I know everybody just wants to talk about Robinhood, so I'm going to blow through the other stuff first, and then we can go get into that one. We did have some pretty good plays last week. Pretty much what we expected. But again, I'm going to say when in doubt, sit it out. Just keep that in mind because that's what we're going to kind of be the theme as we get back to the main event later today. Zevia last week, that one was pretty straightforward win. Ryan Group, unexpected. Couchbase, low float, growth stock kind of turned around as we talked about. If growth and tech started looking better during the week, we'd expect base to do well, and it did. Core and Main, both Ryan Group and Core and Main, kind of industrial plays that I overlooked, said they were boring. I was wrong. And then XPOF, that was a Kramer pump that, watch his stuff. So it doesn't always do well. DD, he couldn't do much for that one, but with XPOF, his morning pump sort of pushed it into a win opportunity. Just want to go through these quickly. Zevia, brand recognition. It's kind of like the health food buzz for sodas, healthy sodas. Parents love them, kids love them. I think lockdown helped. We had an IPO price at 14 and a week debut price. So when I see that, I expect it to gap fill. Bought in at 12.50. Still sitting in it. I still think it's going to go up to about 15 or 16. I'll probably take profits if I can at 14.50. Don't like to stay in these too long. Want to put my money into other plays. And, but when you see a strong brand that you like, that you want to play, and then it prices the IPO or debuts below the IPO price, I always think that's a good opportunity. I think it's going to, it's a weak market. And that gives you an opportunity to catch that rebound, low downside, high upside. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Ryan Group. Last week we saw these smart money institutional plays do pretty well. I think that was also due to a relatively weak market going into the week, and that gave the IPOs a chance to price or to debut at attractive levels. Then the institutional money said, okay, well, we'll buy more of this while it's down. And we saw that with both Ryan Group and CNM, kind of plays that I usually would stay away from. Usually they don't get much action. With everything else weak, these can sometimes be the ones to keep an eye on. Couchbase, I said last week, if we saw growth and tech kind of recover midweek, this one might be a strong one. It's a database management system. Got a lot of comps to MongoDB. The debut was lower. They were trying to price it or bring it at like 30, 31. They ended up not bringing it to until they matched it at 29.60. And that gave it a lot of room to run with the low float. I think it was 7 million shares. That turned into a good run on day one. And if you held through to day two, you were given an exceptional opportunity to take profits on this one. Core and Main, just talked about it in line with Ryan. It's kind of smart money, just it's institutional. They do like pipes and plumbing and sewage systems and that kind of thing. And when they priced, debuted fairly low, gave a lot of room for an upside. Once it caught some momentum, other traders came into it. And this offered an opportunity to take some profits if you kind of just bought in and let it do its thing throughout the day. Take profits at a target, set a limit order, walk away, go have dinner, come home, check your order, see how much money you made. Exponential Fitness, I didn't expect this one to do well because Mark Wahlberg fitness IPO didn't do all that well last week. It was F45. Kramer came on and pumped this one in the morning. I think that gave it a little bit of a boost. Not a great win opportunity, but if you liked it and got into it, you had opportunities to take profit. But last week wasn't great. We saw a lot of IPOs that kind of dipped off the open. So until we see something that's either really strong or we see a turnaround in the market, the best strategy on these IPOs might be actually to wait. Just wait for them to open, let them dip a little bit or undercut your debut price by about 50 cents or $1, and take a position that gives you a little bit of upside. That debut price will often act as resistance on the way back up, since people who did buy the debut are selling to get out of their position at that point. But if you have an opportunity to catch these dips, all of these, even this one right here, you see catch this dip and then ride it back up. Or dollar cost average your buys in, establish a lower position, and that way you can get out at the debut price, and sometimes that acts as a barrier. But nothing too exciting last week, so let's look ahead what we've got coming up on the calendar this week. We'll run through all the non-Robinhood ones first, and then cover Robinhood more at the end. So Duolingo, this is probably the next most popular one, or brand recognition. This is a very popular app for learning a second language. I've tried it out. It's very easy to get into. They've got a lot of kind of gamification. They get you hooked. You start wanting to learn it, and it's free. They monetize through other methods. They're going to start premium services later, but they've managed to generate revenue without charging people for the actual product, which is always interesting to me. They also plan to expand into other disciplines like math and science, English, like reading, these kinds of things. And they already have over 40 million monthly active users in over 40 languages, and they're doing a very low float. So when you see a major company like this float just 5.1 million shares, and they've got a pretty high IPO price at the 85 to 95 level, it sounds a lot like MNDY, which was Monday.com. It's the task management platform. It debuted and just crashed. I think it debuted at 180 or 173, crashed all the way down to the IPO price of about 145, and immediately came back up to about, and I think now it's in the 220 range. So these low float IPOs can do crazy things. And if it doesn't run right away and it drops, that might be a great opportunity. A lot of times people sell out at the beginning, not a lot of buyers. But as soon as any kind of demand comes into these plays, the upside can be very rapid and can be rather dramatic. So I'm going to be traveling on the 28th and 29th. I won't be really able to play much of these. I'll be keeping an eye on them, but I would definitely be interested in Duolingo because it's a strong product. They are experiencing a lot of growth. language and education, remote education is a big opportunity right now with COVID, variants kind of multiplying by the exponentially, it seems like. And, this one has my interest. Snap One, these guys sell smart home products. They sell to the installers. They have growing revenue and gross profit. A lot of people are improving their homes right now. Relatively modest float. I just don't know how many people, retail investors, are going to be all that familiar with Snap One's product line. So I'm not sure it's going to be that strong on the debut. Keep an eye on it, but at this point, I'm not playing anything unless I have a really high conviction rate. And this one doesn't strike me as something that's going to be hot, especially when so many eyes are going to be focused on Robinhood this week. Another name we all know and love is Dole Pineapple, Dole Bananas. They do a lot of fruits and vegetables that we enjoy every day. They are rather, kind of a boring financial story. Slow, stable growth rate, small upside, little downside. It's not a huge float. I don't think you're going to lose too much money buying in on this one. I don't think the debut premium will be particularly extravagant. But it's, again, I don't really know, and I don't feel like there's going to be a huge upside. I'm not too excited about it, so I probably would pass on this one too. Context Therapeutics. I mean, how many cancer biotechs are we going to see that try to come to market with low floats and capitalize on this low float phenomenon? 1.5 million shares. It's almost like a race to the bottom to see who can go live with, and that's almost like the minimum you're allowed to go live with was like 1.25 million or 1 million shares. So when you come to market with 1.5 million shares, you're at least creating less supply than demand. So there's a chance that it gets targeted and keyed by these low float kind of investment trader groups. But otherwise, it's not something you want to hold past day one. If your thesis is, well, the low float's going to send it high, it's going to rocket into halts. If that doesn't play out and you don't get out on day one, do not get caught in day two, day three, and certainly don't be holding this past that. If you have to take a loss, get out. But otherwise, you're looking at a very long time holding this until they get some kind of, announcement on an FDA approval. And almost inevitably, as soon as they get that, they're going to do a new share issue. So if you do end up getting caught bag holding and you end up months from now or a year from now getting an opportunity on a spike, sell. Those new share offerings come back to back to those FDA announcements on these. And I just don't have the time or energy to focus on this one this week and will not be touching it. So Project Angel Parent. This is a cloud-based SaaS for digital lending programs. Lets banks kind of get into digital lending. Sounds a lot like Blend last week, which didn't do all that well. And 12 million shares, not all that well known, even a confusing name. The company is meridianlink.com, but their parent company is Project Angel. This isn't something that's interesting to me. TGPX, this is Traeger grills. This one's actually kind of interesting because these are the expensive barbecues that Americans have been buying up during pandemic and lockdown, so they can kind of have their own little home parties in the backyard. They have revenue, increasing profitability, and it reminds me a bit of the swimming pool companies that have done really well. This is almost, these are $2,000 grills. These are more like home improvement projects than just simple appliances. And they're getting some comps to Yeti, which is like a high-end cookware company whose IPO, and they're up 500% in the IPO. The float's not too high. And I think people who are Traeger grill customers, they love their grill. It's like maybe their most beloved appliance in the house. It's part of their family. They're interested in this, and it's getting some institutional support. So this one's interesting to me. I'd like to play this one if I were Mitch. Yes.
I'm one. Barbecue Sundays every Sunday, smoking something, barbecuing something. So I'm in that.
It's part of the pastime, the family pastime, right? You get together,
can't go wrong.
Beers, kids running around. Yeah. So I like this one, and I think there's a little bit of a confusion, I think, around the ticker, maybe TGPX, but they got that straightened away with Cook, which is, I think, a better ticker than Hood, as we'll see in a little bit. But I like this one, so put this one on your watch list. Preston Hollow, this is, they do financing for social and economic projects. Okay, Maybe it's an economic development play. It's a financing company. I don't understand a lot about it. It's not a huge float. Just not something that draws my attention. Maybe it does well, maybe it doesn't. I think it probably goes pretty sideways, but maybe it's one of these interesting for institutional plays that I've overlooked over the last week, and maybe just play it based on me saying it's not going to do well because it's boring. But this one's not interesting to me. Riskfield, this one is kind of interesting. They do risk management technologies, kind of machine learning, anti-fraud software for e-commerce. And so when you think about all the e-commerce transactions, someone's helping these companies protect these transactions against fraud. And this company is one of the leading providers. They've got rapid growth, rapid profit. They have very low operating losses. They're swinging towards operating profit, and the float is rather reasonable. So as kind of a tech in e-commerce thing behind the thing, security has been pretty hot recently. This is e-commerce security. So I keep an eye on this one. I like this one. If I were not traveling these days, I would probably be watching this, and at least to see if I get a little dip off the open. I think there's a pretty good chance that this does a recovery if it doesn't run right away. So I like this one. Put this one on the list too. Aspire Global. People have been asking me about this all week because it's a Webull play, Webull offering, click IPO. They manufacture vaping products. They're an OEM for vaping products. They're out of China, and most of their products are sold to America and Canada, which, they get around the crackdown that China's had on vaping products that killed RLX, which did well on the debut, but has since sunk pretty heavily. Then again, everything China-based right now is kind of on a do not touch list for me until things level out a little bit. I just think that there's too much economic warfare going on, and we're still kind of at the beginning stages of this. Unless it's something with a super low float or has one of these underwriters like Bosted or Network One Securities, this falls in the, when in doubt, sit it out. I just don't, I don't have any compelling reason to play this one, and the downside could be larger than what I see the upside being. Teads, this is a programmatic ad platform for advertisers and publishers. It's a spinoff from Altus International, and recently spinoffs haven't done all that well. When the company is hot, we saw this with Vimeo, and when it got spun off, the share price just sank, and spin-offs and uplistings for the most part have been kind of don't touch, let them drop, then maybe play. If they drop hard on the debut, which many of them have, and you really like the company, then consider taking a position at that point. But I'm not playing this kind of trade off the debut. Clarios International, this is a low voltage battery company. They do consumer batteries, and they do batteries for transportation applications. And I'm not talking about EVs, I'm talking about like real car batteries. They have a lot of large institutional investors already who apparently are looking to re-up and buy more with top line revenue growth, free cash flow, profitability. I mean, it's a solid company, so it also has a huge float. But this is the kind of trade that last week with it was CNM. I said, no, this one's not that interesting. And then it ran, 4 points off $21 open. So maybe this is a good one. Maybe this is the kind of trade that gives you little downside with big upside, since the institutional investors aren't looking to dump, they're looking to add more. That could eat up 88 million shares, and you can go along for the ride. So keep an eye on this one. I'm going to keep watching this one. I probably wouldn't play it, even though I'll be back home by then. And it's just take notes, kind of learn from history, let it repeat itself, and put yourself in a position to take winning trades in the future. This is one to watch. Muliang, this one is an uplisting from the OTC. This company sells fertilizers in China, which, I just said don't play Chinese stocks. But I also said keep an eye on anything that Bosted Securities underwrites. So this isn't a super low float. It's 10 million shares. The IPO has been delayed a few times since December 2020 when they first announced it. And even though it's an uplisting, what makes it a little bit different is that the shares have been halted since October. So a lot of times you'll see uplistings where the stock continues to trade, and the kind of bump on it being uplisted has already been priced in, because when it was an OTC stock and they announced, oh, we're going to uplist, that's when everybody, bought in and shot the price up. So we saw that last week with V. They do like an EV for boats. They were an OTC stock that a year ago was trading at about 2 to 3 cents a share. And last, I guess it was about October, November, they announced that they're going to uplist. By February, it was confirmed, and the stock price went up to like 50 cents a share. So it already did a 10x and then came back down prior to the uplisting. That uplisting isn't really a catalyst. The uplisting itself is the news, and we all know, buy the rumor, sell the news. The uplistings kind of fall in that category. But Mulang is boasted, so if there's enough hype around it, maybe it does one of those crazy Chinese IPO, stealth IPO things. Speaking of stealth IPOs, this one is on watch. This is Intelligent Living Application Group, ILAG. They have announced kind of preliminary pricing last week, which kind of puts it on radar for me. Are they going to try to do a stealth IPO this week? They do smart locks and mostly sell to America and Canada. These are like electronic fingerprint locks, things like that. They're a Hong Kong corporation, not a pure Chinese corporation. The float hasn't been announced, but if this turns out to be one of those 5 million share floats priced at, $4 to $6 a share, you got to keep an eye on this, because these Network One financial debuts have been rocket ships, at least some of them. UTME, EJH, TIRX. I mean, these all have been, double, triple. I think UTME did like 10x in 2 days. So if this one does get announced this week, I'll send it out, a notification out in the newsletter, IPOwarriors.com. Sign up for the newsletter there. And I will send out an alert if I hear anything further about it. And this is definitely one that I will play if it doesn't debut at some ridiculous premium, like $45, like we saw with a couple of the other ones they did. Which brings us to the main event. Have you heard of Robinhood, Mitch?
Say what? Robinhood?
Yeah, Tights, the Merry Men, Sherwood Forest.
The feather.
We all know Robin.
I've seen it. I've seen the confetti come down.
Yeah, exactly. You've rung the confetti bell before.
Yeah.
So,
even when I sell the loser, I see confetti.
Congratulations. You've limited your losses. So everybody knows what Robinhood is, so we don't need to worry about brand recognition. We almost have to worry about the other side of it. I'm going to kind of fly through the intro, since this is like introducing you to your own dog. They do stock and crypto trading. They're expanding into other financial services. They're loved by some, hated by many. For many people, they're kind of the gateway drug into trading. Big wild card for me here, other than do people love or hate this company, is the large retail allocation that Robinhood is giving to their customers, which usually is kind of like an appreciation, like customers appreciate that. But I almost feel like at this point, there's so many people who just still have their Robinhood accounts because there's no reason to close them down, but actually hate Robinhood, and they're going to get those allocations and dump them. We all know what happened with the whole GME, I guess we'd call it a fiasco, where it was kind of Robinhood traders drove that short squeeze, and then Robinhood, the details are still somewhat cloudy and muddled. There's a lot of obfuscation going on here. But the general gist is that everybody feels like they collaborated with the trading desks and shut down the short squeeze. And people really feel a lot of hatred towards. A lot of people feel betrayed by Robinhood. So that retail allocation, do they hold on and say, no, diamond hands, hold it, we love Robinhood, send this to the moon, or do they say, screw Robinhood, let's figure out how to short an IPO and sell this and just dump it, take what I can. I think if this doesn't do well, a lot of people are going to hate Robinhood even more. In terms of the company itself, it does incredibly well. I mean, 2019 to 2020 was 245% revenue growth. That became 309% revenue growth from 2020 to 2021. Having said that, there's a lot of concern about how much of their revenue is coming from payment for order flow. Yeah, same thing. People don't like how that smells and are starting, there's being murmurs in Congress, murmurs in government, should payment for order flow even be allowed? And if they do have any kind of significant regulatory shift, on that front, that's going to really damage Robinhood. In the meantime, things are, things are great in Sherwood Forest. And the other concern I have is how much are they actually making from Doge trading? Coinbase is now added Doge. Other platforms, it's no longer the only game in town. And really, was Dogecoin a fad, or is it really going to continue? I don't really know. Pretty low valuation for Robinhood, if we're just going to talk on financials for a second, considering that when you compare it to Schwab, which is valued at roughly 130 billion. E-Trade sold to Morgan Stanley for 160 billion a few years ago. So just 30 billion in the valuation, given what Robinhood has become. It is the trading desk, kind of the gateway trading platform for a lot of people, and a lot of people like it. I personally don't. And then maybe that's just I don't like having charts that look like a kid drew them on graph paper. And I don't really trade, out of the money options. So maybe that I'm just not the right client base. I also wonder how long Robinhood traders are going to stay on Robinhood. I think a lot of people graduate into something else. And I think a lot of people or other people, the trading strategies that are sort of promoted by trading out of the money options. I don't know how long people's capital stays liquid before they kind of run out of steam and have to kind of get burned on the whole idea, go back to other hobbies. Big questions for me in terms of a trade on this, a debut trade, is who is going to buy this after the debut. If everybody's getting allocations through being a Robinhood customer, I don't see them buying more of this stock once it starts trading. Our institutional investors going to be kind of like, I really don't know what's going to happen here. I don't really want to buy more. Are they going to feel burned because instead of getting full allocations, they gave a bunch of allocations to retail traders? Are people who aren't Robinhood customers going to participate? Who is going to buy this on the debut? And if I don't have a really solid answer on that one, it's probably not something I really want to play. A regulatory issue is going to cause near-term pain. Is there a venge factor coming from customers? On Reddit, I'm reading more posts about boycott. How do I short this? It's a scam. It just doesn't, it's not a bunch of people. If they had done this a year ago, this would have been total, before the, the GME and AMC stuff went down. I think that it's a very different story. I think it's, let's send this to the moon. Robinhood is my, the greatest thing ever. It helped me change my life, and I love trading Doge, and they're great. But where it is right now, there's so many doubts. And what I've said is, when in doubt, sit it out. This one will be really fun to watch, but I will be sitting there with a glass of probably Canada Dry, because that's what I drink on the airplane. What are your thoughts on this one, Mitch? You in? You going to get an allocation?
If I had the allocation, maybe I'd be in it for the long term kind of thing. But for right now, I think I'm just going to sit on my hands, watch a little bit. But I do agree with you that you got to watch those regulatory issues with a company like this, especially if you're thinking long term in Robinhood, because there's going to be definitely some battle there on order execution and how that's really going through. And this is just the beginning. I think this is something that you kind of hear more going into next year. So will it be in the short term? No, I think it could run in the short term, but long term, definitely. Regulatory is one of the things to keep watch for Robinhood.
Sure. Yeah, I think regulatory for the near term and for the first few days is really just going to be interesting to see what public sentiment is on this stock. I think it's going to be a very memorable
What's the rumored
IPO.
Price, Matt? Do we got a rumored
I think
price?
it's in the 50-55 is the range, something like that.
Okay. All right.
So that's another one of these things. If it debuts right at the at the IPO price, that's a different scenario than if there's a big premium. There's a big incentive for everybody to who got an allocation to say, screw this. I don't really care about their future offerings. I just came back to my Robinhood account just for this IPO. I'm going to take profits and then move on. If it's below IPO, that's another story. And then people are bag holding from the start, and they're more likely to say, well, I don't really want to take a loss on something I just bought. Let's see if this comes back. So this will be
I think there's going to be a lot of people trying to target those allocations more than likely, trying to get it at a cheaper price than a lot of the people that jumped in on the allocation. So we'll see if it gets down towards that price. But like always, guys, Matt Hammond coming on with not only just one IPO, but all the IPOs going through it. This is the only place that I feel like you get full coverage on the IPOs. So I appreciate you, Matt. One of the things that I always see is I see the coverage come, but after the stock has run. And so I appreciate you coming on and really giving us some background information before these IPOs come out.
And I'll have my newsletter coming out in about 7 or 8 hours. I'll go into a little bit more detail on how exactly I'll trade these once I get a chance to do a little more research. But thanks you guys so much. Sorry, my setup. This is the travel setup. I'll be back in my office next week and literally staring at the beach and go join my wife on the cabana chairs right now. So
enjoy that
good
beach,
week, guys. Yeah,
have a good one, Matt.
All right. That was the opening bell.
Let's do this.
Let's bring on our friends. Our friends Ryan and Junaid. And here they are.
Really quickly. Did you see? You didn't get to see it, Spencer, but my man Ryan was getting pumped up. My boy was doing them chest flies in the back, getting ready. Flex. I love it.
Ryan,
you're unmuted. You can't flex the chest, but not have a mic on.
So all jokes aside, you got to have strong body, strong mind, strong heart to trade in the market. So you got it, Mitch. I was out here doing chest flies this morning. I'm ready to go, folks. By the way, CLF sweeps right off the open on ticker CLF, pushing here 22.
Wait, share. We all got to share some screens here to get going. So let's all share.
Geez.
Don't worry, I didn't share mine either. Here we go. All right, I got my scanner tool open. I got a chart up. What are we watching? Oh, look at XPEV right off the bat. Wow. Okay. Where are we?
So we got a bounce going in XBio. I didn't take this. I was actually watching IMV. Didn't get down to the 210 level that I was looking at. NAOV looks like we're not going to continue from Friday's session. This I wouldn't touch this. Careful on this. Same with DYNT. I think this is gone. Anyway,
wait. Let's back it up here. Let's all go through what we're watching today. Like what's on the top of our watch list. Ryan, why don't you start?
All right, let me go ahead and I actually made a watch list for this purpose here. So,
nice.
All right, so these are the stocks that I'm watching here right before the open. Let me sort them here by change percent. These are a result of the nightly scan that scans for relative volume, and then also the movers tool this morning just to see what was up. I didn't put any of the Bitcoin names on here. Mara, Riot. I tend not to trade those. The Bitcoin news with Amazon is awesome. Bitcoin's running. I'm just hodling. I'm not actively trading that, so I'm not looking for those stocks. So this is the list that I got right here. We got 7 names. Look at 8 names here. So these are the ones. Let me see what I got in here.
So we got TYME, we got IMG,
TYME went,
XBio, DYNT, NAOV, Archimoto, which is FUV. You got the Bizarro Tesla is what I call it, TLSA, and you've got AACG. Is what's on your list. Zunaid, what about you?
For me, I'm mainly looking back at Facebook. Obviously, it had that great run after we mentioned it on Friday's show. So I'm looking at Facebook because they've got earnings coming up. I will buy if it dips to 367.30. That's where I'll buy, and I'll look to sell it around the 374. So that's where I already have an alert to buy. The exact price is 367.50.
And I have an active swing on DraftKings, so I am watching that closely this morning. Also watching Tesla trade into
Tesla reports later today. So I don't know how much movement we'll get, but I hope it's quite a bit.
And it does seem like off the open we did get a little bit of a pop. Right. Yeah. Oh, look at Didi here, guys. Yeah. These moves are, let's be real, probably to be faded. Do I have the balls to do it, though, is the question. I don't know. I don't think I do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, I wouldn't touch Didi till maybe that if it comes down to that $7 mark just to play it. But for me, I'm staying away until it gets to like that psychological $5 level. And then I'm like, okay, cool. But till then, no, thank you. I'm not going to mess with that.
Not just DD. It's all of China. No,
Yeah.
I take that back actually, because Baba kept going at the open, so I imagine Baidu did the same and JD did the same. Yep.
JD's definitely taking a hit.
Yep, down 6%. What about those? What is it? TAL? How they doing? Yeah, a little bit of a.
Let's see.
A little bit of buy the dip, but it's a big dip and a little bit of a buy. So again, moves to be faded. Do I have the balls to do it? I don't know.
I've got support on JD if people wanted to try it around that 60, 65 area. But again, if you believe there's more pain to come, their supports won't matter in this case because it's fundamentally being impacted with China.
What's the new Lucid ticker? Someone LUCD? No,
LCID.
LCID. Thank you.
Lucid.
All right, so our charts aren't updated because
I mean, sometimes it takes a little bit
I know,
to start trading.
It's not just Benzinga Pro; it's actually
SGRP. SGRP. A little interesting here, folks. 225 spot from Friday. I think if we take that out, we could pop here. Not on it yet. Needs to clear out 225. Big seller at 225. SGRP. Just kind of watching right now. Still haven't taken a trade yet today.
Who was it that just asked about the Russell at the open? Let's take a look-see at the IWM.
XBIO at the highest. IMV worked off 210.
Oh, wow. Wow, it's not just the Russell, actually. Whole market caught a bit at the open. Except for tech. Yeah, IWM has been your laggard, right? We know this. So laggards can go through periods of relative outperformance. There's a daily. Let's go to Money Mitch's screen here. Let's see what Money Mitch is watching.
Let's see here.
All right, right now I'm looking at Foot Locker for a pullback. We got UA with earnings later in this week, so that's why I'm watching Foot Locker right now. Goldman Sachs had put on a report that they were pretty bullish on Foot Locker, so keeping an eye on that, looking at the VWAP on that. In healthcare, I do like FLGT, but it's a little bit more of an expensive name. Would like it off the VWAP right now. Probably 90s going into above 90, 50s, but you're talking about a more expensive stock. So day traders, just be careful with that. I actually don't mind this trade at all, just because it's kind of holding well here. But let's go ahead and talk about some other names. Roku was ripping today. How's Fubo performing?
You know, you're watching those two together.
There you go. I like that pullback there. I like that kind of washout look that it tried to do at 26.40. Let's see if it can pull back towards 26.50 and catch a bid right here. Doesn't look bad for it to push on up through 27 today.
Let's see.
I might take a trade on this just to kind of show you guys what I would attack. You got something, Sunaid?
Well, I'm just taking a look and see if they pounded a little bit more, but we had $100,000 come in on JD, 71.50 calls that expire August 6th. The spot price was 68.46. So it's about 20 cents higher than that. Just keeping an eye because you had that little bit of drop starting to come off just a little bit off the lows. But again, I'm waiting to see if they pound it a little bit more. If you were going to try to get in, low of day should definitely be your stop loss. If it doesn't bounce off that $67, you got to get out. But I do like that they put some money into a option that's about a week and a half out or 2 weeks out.
Speaking of low of day being your stop, NAOV flush beneath the low of day now, and that's continuing downward. Good call, Zunaid. Different stock, but that's definitely the definitely a no touch here, at least for now. Apple high a day.
I mean, Apple's close to that here. Let me take a look. My E-Trade's acting up, so I'm using Trading View for our webinar. Yeah, Apple's moving and grooving. I want to see it get over that 150. I don't know if it will before earnings or not, but that would be interesting.
Me either. Those are my calls. I've got the August 150 calls, so I'm in that for the earnings print.
You plan on holding?
Yeah, I started that swing a couple of weeks ago. I peeled half the position for 100% already. So these are free.
That's awesome.
We're playing with house money through this earnings report.
Nothing like
Let's
the
take a look
house
at
money.
AMC.
Yeah, AMC had a few options come in for the $40 calls.
And just as a reminder on AMC, they have their annual shareholder meeting on Thursday. Probably nothing will come of it. The big news was that was from last week that the CEO is that Adam Aaron is now the chairman of the board. But you never know with these things. So just have if you are watching AMC, then pay especially close attention on Thursday, because that's when they may announce some stuff. They may not, but you never know with these annual meetings. So
sorry guys, I missed this one. This was the SGRP. I called the 225 break on here. You can see as soon as that snapped, we're at 264 and a halt here. So this is a bummer. I missed this one, but this was the clean setup. This was a good one. See if we get another opportunity at this. Plays over for right now though. Bummer that I missed that. That was a nice little win right there.
Yeah, good call from Hertz Scrambler. Pets, PETS, buyer is coming. We are basically flat. We're red by 0.5% in pets right now. We were down $3.50 at the open. We're basically come all the way back to flat right now in PETS. So buy the dip. Works except when it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know if the Chinese names are going to be the buy the dip best strategy there. Unfortunately,
hey, just how are the crypto stocks holding up here so far this morning? I've not.
Good call.
Not yet looked. Riot. Oh, it's trying to hold. I don't know. This is a 1 minute chart, so Riot's trying to hold.
This is. I'm sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Interesting. We had an options alert, or I guess not an alert, but flow coming on PDD. They're buying the 97 calls for this week. You'll see a pop there.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh yeah.
Keep an eye on it.
Oh yeah, nice.
97. That's about $5 out. So
for Friday.
Yeah, that'll expire in 4 days.
What's the premium on those? I have no frame of reference for this. So.
$1.50 is what they're paying.
I don't even know if
that can move too. Pinduoduo can move and can move fast.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's expensive or not. I have no frame of reference for it. Is that
the IV on it is about 85? I'll be honest. I'm not sure if that's expensive or not. I just know that they're coming into it and you saw a nice pop. So what I would wait for is maybe a dip and try to get in if you're not already. Your stop loss would be about $91. So you're risking $1 for about 3 or 4. So that's a good risk reward if you're going to go ahead and get in. But just know that that's a weekly. So like Ryan said, they move quick. So it'll either be nice or painful, but just something to keep an eye on.
A little bit more context on PDD. This was a huge one. I've actually traded this in the past. These calls move like crazy. You have a near term triple top from last year, July of 2020, August of 2020, and then later on in August, kind of formed a resistance area right around 99. So I suspect that call buy was to kind of punch through that level and then test 100. I think if you do that, those calls are going to be really expensive, or a nice little gain there. Decent support right here. I think this is a good spot for this. I totally get that call.
All right, guys, trying to grab right now Duke Energy right off the VWAP right now. This is called a VWAP bounce trade here at the open. You get an extension above VWAP. Good extension. Then you want to see it come back towards support. You have this resistance to go off of. That's kind of where I'd base the risk here. And now you guys see the green where I'd be looking for the trade to go up. I'm even trying to take this one on my account, just of one share, just to kind of actually take the trade for you guys. So let's see if I get to fill. I've had put it out at 104.60s, but it looks like you know how that is. It was right off the ask, and it just pushed on up to 67. We'll see if I can get a fill at 65. But this is kind of the VWAP, the volume weighted average price. I just released a video on this if you guys want to look how to kind of trade off the VWAP. But we'll see if it can get back up to the resistance. Resistance would be up there back towards 105.05. On Duke.
We had Will in the chat saying is E-Trade freezing? Yeah, it's acting up for me a little bit to the point where I'm using the mobile app to trade and not even E-Trade Pro. Sometimes it happens in the morning if there's a flush of volume. Yeah, that's why I was a little slow to talk, because I was trying to figure out how to feed myself. All right. Oh, and there goes a little bit of a pop on PDD, just a little, maybe a 50-cent pop since we last talked. Next resistance I have is about $94. Let's see what else.
right.
If the chat has anything that they're looking at,
yeah, let us know. Let us know. We'll see what's in there. What's going on in the chat, Spencer? You seeing any names being mentioned?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Spencer.
We got some names being mentioned. Seeing AACG, Ryan. Raymond's talking about that. We're talking about, oh, yeah, let's take a look at Chewy. How is Chewy doing this morning?
Chewy's strong today.
Yeah,
whoa. Watch off of.
Whoa.
Watch off the pets sympathy.
It's a great
SGRP 3 spot
point.
Off that 225 idea. Unbelievable.
It's a great point, Mitch. We talk about sympathy plays all the time.
It's what I try to do best, you guys.
The PETS numbers, let's go back to the numbers weren't great, right? No, the numbers weren't good on pets. And maybe that's why Chewy is bouncing, because the implication is what's bad for, it's a zero-sum game. What's bad for one is good for the other.
Big market cap and opportunity to get that revenue. So maybe it's Chewy taking that revenue.
PDD dollar pop, since we mentioned it. I don't know if anyone in the chat grabbed the options, grabbed the commons, but PDD is now 93.15. We mentioned it at about 92.20. Let's see what those options are going for now.
Sweep's coming in on Riot, folks. Check those Bitcoin names.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to take a spec play on the riots and the Bitcoins about Amazon, possibly accepting Bitcoin, Amazon is reporting on Thursday after close. So if you wanted to kind of leading up to it, if you believe there'll be an announcement, kind of like how people thought there would be about a split, I think you could see a run up. But again, it's a spec play. It's not really anything to call your grandma and tell her to put her money in.
I
already did.
Grandma.
My grandma called and she said, "Who's this?"
Apple going for 150.
Oh boy! So 150 rejected last time. So I'd be interested to see if it pops through. If I was feeling dangerous, I would go ahead and take a put right around 149.80 area, just for a quick rejection of maybe $1 or so, right? A quick scalp. And you're wrong if it pops to 150.50, right? So you're kind of risking 50 cents for $1 move type situation.
I want to share this cool chart or cool table or cool stats I saw on Twitter this morning. This is from Carter Braxton Worth at Carter B Worth on Twitter. So we were talking about earnings this morning. We were talking about the fact that you get all the big FANG names reporting this week, right? You got Tesla today, you got Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft tomorrow, Facebook Wednesday, Amazon Thursday. So this is a table showing what the performance of those individual names and the performance of the S&P 500 in the weeks, in the previous times where this has happened, the previous times where the 5 largest stocks in the S&P all reported in the same week. And as you can see, the 5 previous times that it's happened, or excuse me, 6 previous times that it's happened, or no, 5, yeah, the last row. The 5 previous times it's happened, the market has closed down each of those weeks, except for up 0.02%. 3 months ago. So
interesting.
Yeah, an interesting trend to watch this week for the overall market, right? As we get the 5 largest names reporting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, overall market has closed down 4 of the previous 5 times that's happened. So something to have on your radar. I thought that was a cool stat.
If you did take that PDD trade, you're up about 20%. It's trading at 183 now. You still have a bit of a move. You've about 70 cents left before you hit resistance. But you're up nicely, about 22%.
PDDs, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good call out.
I love that reversal. I love that pattern. Kind of trade up in pre-market, sell off right at the open, reversal, spike hard. Man, what a great trade setup that is.
Yeah. And you knew that, hey, look, below 91 was my out, right? So you kind of had your risk, you had your reward. So it definitely worked out well so far. for people wondering, what I'm going to end up doing is when it gets to 93.80, I will take half my position off and move my stop loss to break even. And then my next target will be to hold it to $97, which is actually what the strike price is. And that's when I'll sell another 25%, and the rest I'll just let it ride with stop loss being moved up. That way I never lose money now that I'm in the green.
All right, I've got the Benzinga Pro scanner tool open. Just watching what's up, what's down from the open.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye to see. I'm seeing some on LCID options coming in, but nothing promising.
That re automotive, the SPAC that was pushing on up, just gave back all those gains. Just to give it out there. I know someone was talking about re in the chat.
SGRP. What a move today. It's a hard trader, though. It's quite fast.
Just to update, PDD did hit 93.90. I am out 50%.
Nice trade.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Who else? So something else that I like to do now that I'm done with this one trade, I'm going to keep an eye on who reports, right? Because you'll often see earnings run-ups, or you'll see earning fades before they even announce. So that's something where you can see some options activity come in to help move out. So let me quickly see who all is. Thank you for bringing that up. So obviously you mentioned Tesla, Spencer. So we'll see how the movement on that one is. I know Ryan talked about Apple. AMD is another microchip one that moves well with NVIDIA and all of that. So I'll definitely have that on my radar. McDonald's had a great move on Friday. There were a bunch of unusual options on Thursday, and then Friday it moved about $4 or $5. Yeah. Facebook.
You're right,
I haven't
there.
checked Facebook.
Restaurants did good overall. You got McDonald's, Yum, DPZ, Wing, Starbucks, all doing massively well.
So yeah, those are all good. Something else I like to do.
What's up?
Is I like to try to find when we're in earnings season. I will look at a company that is I'll find one that's reporting this week, and I'll see. Okay, I want to look for one where the peers, at least one major peer, has already reported, and I want to see, preferably, if like the big dog has yet to report, but like some of its slightly smaller dogs that are still notable have already reported. So I for example, I wouldn't look at JetBlue. JetBlue is small compared to its peers. Many of the larger airlines, they've all actually already reported. So I'm not really interested in that. But for example, Visa, which reports tomorrow after the close. Well, we just had American Express last Friday. So let's take a look at American Express, see how that performed. That could give us a clue into Visa tomorrow. I like to find big companies maybe that lead or one of the leaders of their industry, their sector, and who already had some of their peers report. What did the peers do? That could give me a clue. So, for example, Wingstop is Wednesday, Yum Brands is Thursday. Well, we already had Chipotle, right? We already had Domino's. Let's take a look at those two, see how they behaved. Maybe that can give us a clue into those two. And then MasterCard is Thursday morning. So based on what Visa does,
I love it.
Visa's tomorrow afternoon, and let's see what Visa does on a Wednesday. That could tell us maybe what MasterCard could do on Thursday.
Yeah.
So I like to look for peers. And again, I'm not interested in like the smaller members of the group, like a JetBlue, which is not going to move the needle for the airline industry, like a United or Southwest or American would. I like to find the leaders of the industry who maybe have a tail already out there. So those are the things, the patterns I like to look for. Looking
Sorry to interrupt real quick. We just got $2 million sweep in Snap, $76 calls, $76 calls for this week, $2 million. They're going for about $2. Let's pull up Snap real quick.
Let's do it.
Sorry, I'm interrupt you there, but that was $1 million
good calls you need. It's going off those sweeps too, by the way.
Yeah.
They came in right above 75. They came for him too.
I mean, they just swept $2 million. Yeah, and again, let's talk about risk reward, right? For me, risk, since it is a weekly, know that it's going to move fast. I'm thinking low of day, I'm out. So 74.50, you break that, I'm out. My target will be about 77.50. And as you can see, they're moving. Stocks going up. But I love that you mentioned, though, and keep in mind, if you're going to play MasterCard options or commons, you will be impacted positively or negatively depending on how Visa reports, right? So know that that's the risk you're taking. Even though MasterCard doesn't report till Thursday, you still have a little bit of risk depending on how Visa does.
Right. Will this China market drop affect the FANG stock earnings this week? No. Well, do you mean, Richard, you mean in terms of what this FANG stocks will do? Not the reports are a whole separate thing. We're looking at last quarter. This has nothing to do with that. But I assume you mean with regards to the stocks reaction. Maybe. You always want to see who the largest holders in these China stocks are, and they're all big U.S. institutions, right? Like the big banks, BlackRock, the big asset managers, BlackRock, Vanguard, et cetera, et cetera. They're all like among the largest holders. Fidelity in all of these China stocks that are getting punished here. So, but with regards to your original question, will the major, I don't want to call it a crash, but sell off in Chinese stocks, will they affect how the FANG stocks react? I suppose possible, but the two aren't necessarily correlated. So
my two cents is that if anything, if there's any correlation, it will be a positive one, right? Because as those stocks sell off, as some of the Chinese market sells off, where else are you going to go? You're going to go to where there's.
That's a great point. In most circumstances, last March being an exception, but in most circumstances, money never leaves. It only rotates. It only goes in a circle, right? Most of the time, when some area of the market is selling off, that money is going away from that area into another area. Typically, you see rotation, from China, from emerging markets into other emerging markets, or into the U.S., as Ryan is alluding to. So maybe it is a case of rotation out of China, investors pulling that money out, putting it where? Into other emerging markets or into the U.S. So in that sense, maybe it is a net positive for U.S. stocks. You of course want to see. Not so much what the numbers are for the U.S. companies, but with regards to China, do any of these executives, right? Andy Jassy, Tim Cook, Elon Musk, Sundar Pichai, do they say anything about China, right? Because we assume they'll probably be asked about it, especially Apple, which has like all of its supply chain right in China, basically. And we already know that we've had some reports that it's a strong iPhone cycle in terms of demand. They've had to increase production on that front. So we know they'll be asked about China in some way, shape, or form. What they say about that could impact China even further. So we'll have to be watchful of that. But good question. Nothing happens in a vacuum.
No, not at all. Not at all.
What's going on with ZH here?
Let's see. I'll pull it up. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
That's another Chinese stock, and a lot of these are getting bought this morning.
Yeah, we mentioned at the top of the show, right, about how if you're going to get into these stocks, especially the Chinese ones, if you're going to day trade them, low of day should be your.
Yes, it's a great point. You could probably buy all of these. Yeah. So in TAL, you just stop yourself out at what $4? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Take a look. Do me a favor. Take a look at JD real quick.
Okay.
So if you take a look at JD, you see we called out JD around, I think it was 68.50, and we said, hey, your risk would be low of day.
Yeah.
And that all went right around. I think what was the high on that? Was it 70? No, it was 69.28 ish. So you got $1 move by risking about 60 cents. And keep in mind, it was looking to make a higher low, barely. I think you're on the 15 minutes. So it's looking to make a high or low. So again, you're still in the trade because your risk is still low of day. And if you believe it can reach 70, then that's what you're targeting. You're about $1 away from that.
Also,
I hear Michael. What's up, Michael? I know you can't hear me, but
also watching API Agora making a move this morning. That's also a Chinese play. Just had RLX up on this the scanner.
There goes Snap.
Yeah.
ED went too. That's crazy. No position on though.
Yeah, they're all going here. Again, in the grand scheme of things, probably rally is to fade. Who's got the balls to do that? And if you do it, maybe you're gonna stop yourself out at go back on the daily. So in DD, what's Friday's high? $9. Maybe you stop yourself out at Friday's high in DD. Not for me. I mean, I would love to do it in theory, but like, again, it's one thing to want to do something. It's another thing to do it. So, I'm all talk on fading the Chinese rally here this morning. All talk.
I love it.
If anything, I'm more inclined to buy and stop yourself out at, just like as Junaid said, at the low of the day.
Ooh, look at Snap. Pull up Snap.
Yeah, Snap really pushing.
If you took that Snap trade, we called out, you're up about 35%. So again, start moving your stop loss to break even. Don't let it go on you, especially because it is a weekly. And now those calls are in the money, so they'll move differently than the out of the money options usually would.
Explain why.
What's up?
Explain why.
It's all about like the intrinsic value, right? I'm not the best person in terms of Greeks, but basically at a certain point when your options become in the money, they move dollar per dollar with the spot price. So basically when you're in the money, you'll have more dollar gains, but less percentage gains. When you're playing out of the money, you'll have more percentage gains versus dollar gains. Is that right, Ryan? Did I explain that properly?
Yeah, you got it. Once your calls get into the money, they appreciate faster, as you said, 1-to-1. So the allure here of buying out of the money is buying so many at such a cheap price. Then once they become in the money, they start to accelerate in terms of how much they appreciate. Yeah. That's where those huge money making moves come from on the options. That's exactly right, Sinead.
Yep, you've got this my world. The delta goes up, and as I mentioned, Ryan may know more about the Greeks. I understand why they move. Definitely not the best at explaining it.
Yeah,
I know what I mean.
I'm the same way. I know the relation of the Greeks.
Yeah.
This is not something that I would choose to teach without giving myself a primer on it first.
For sure.
It's just one of those things. I mean, the one that you're going to have that all traders are familiarized with first is theta, right? Because this is a position that you buy that decays. Stock doesn't necessarily have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, in this case, the delta represents the rate of change. So that's why when it goes into the money, they appreciate quicker.
Yeah. Will you explained it in a nicer way. He said in the money options are one delta. So they go up $1 for every dollar the underlying goes up. So, right. So we talked about how, hey, it's a dollar per dollar move. Resistance, I don't know if I called it out, but resistance for me would be the high of day, which I think is pre-market was $78, I believe. I could be wrong. But 77.70 is where I'm going to sell 50%. Again, my stop loss has been moved up to break even. And keep in mind, Snap reported last week. And they did very well. So you saw some profit taking. And especially if this thing goes red to green, should be nice.
Guys, if you haven't already, if you're watching this, smash that like button. We're almost at 500. I'm watching the overall market here, and we are about to hit new all-time highs in basically everything but the Russell. The Dow, which closed at a new all-time high, but it did not close at a new intraday high on Friday, is about a point away, handle away from an all-time high. The S&P 500 futures are going to get to a new all-time high. Looks like within the next few minutes. Same thing with the NASDAQ futures. We're only a couple points away there as well. So we are steadily going here. New highs.
By the way, if anyone in the stream, if you did take any of the plays that we've called out and if you made profit, feel free to take a screenshot and tag us. Tag Benzinga on Twitter. Let us know that you've made some money. We'd love your support. We'd love to know that, people are appreciating the ideas. And even if you didn't take the exact trade, even if we helped you with levels, support, resistance, whatever, let us know. Let us know. Tag Benzinga on Twitter. I believe all of our Twitter handles are up mainly. So make sure you give us a shout.
Mark the Realtor, 305 BBIG. What was there a headline today? It must be about the merger, is what he's saying. Vinco Ventures. Oh yeah, they announced the deal with Universal. This is interesting. So Bill Ackman and his SPAC pull out of the Universal deal, and Universal promptly gets another deal with Vinco Ventures. So what's the headline here? The headline is, so there's a joint venture. Is it a joint venture spinoff?
I'm not familiar with that story.
Right.
So I could not comment.
I'm reading straight from the press release in Benzinga Pro here. I'll just read from it. Lomotif is a social networking platform and Universal Music Group. They announced a global agreement that will allow Lomotif's users to tap into UMG's catalog of music for their videos. Under the deal, UMG becomes the first major music company to globally license Lomotif, and Lomotif is owned by Vinco Ventures. So anyway, BBIG, we'll pull the chart up here so we can look at the chart. There it is. Yeah, so again, this one's confusing because
a lot of movement.
Vinco Ventures is like one of these like holding companies, right?
Yeah,
they've got a lot of different businesses. So
yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I believe. I don't want to.
This chart looks. This is like a scary chart.
Yeah, just a lot going on.
There's like historically not much volume, right? And you see it can just like gap down or up on you.
Yeah.
Not a lot of volume at any one price, right? So makes it liable. I think this one has a low flow too. Let's find out.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where a lot of Discord groups are a part of it as well. So just be mindful. Doesn't mean that it can't work. Just be mindful of it. Someone wanted us to take a look at NVIDIA. I don't have a play on it. I will say, if you're going to get in, low of day, again, for me, keep an eye on to get out. And I think 200, just psychologically, you're going to hit resistance. So you're risking 4 for about 6. Not the best. I think we've had better trades today. But since someone did want us to take a look at it.
Did you guys see what Sam did on Friday?
That's that beer company, right? Yeah. Oh my God.
Beer, brutal, absolutely brutal. This thing was knocking on the door of 1,000.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Did it bounce off 700? Oh my God. Can you zoom in? I want to see if it bounced off 700.
What, Friday? Yeah.
Any of those days. Yeah.
Wait, what low was that? That was 6.
Oh man, it went below. Yeah. I love when they literally bounce to the penny.
The whole numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah. That happens a lot, actually.
Theater guy, Apple high 149.83. What was the 149.80 call by Zunaid? I was just saying, Ryan had mentioned Apple earlier, and I talked about how 150 was resistant. So if I was looking for a quick scalp, if it got around that 149.80 area, I would have taken a put and played it to go back down to 149 because I do believe it'll break 150, and my stop loss would have been 150.50. So I'm not sure what Apple did.
Yeah, well, Apple's button up against this 150 here. We got a high day of 149.83. I think we do take 150 to your point here, Zunaid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when we do that. It looked like it definitely wants to do this ahead of earnings, which would be nice.
It's not the first time Apple has run up and failed at 150.
Yeah.
Nope. Which is why we're hoping for a snap here. I think Zunaid was doing a
quick scalp,
just a contrarian trade, right? Like a kind of scalping that back down.
So like if you took that, right? If you took it at 149.80 as I called it out, It's right now trading at 149.50. So you got a 30-cent move, and you were obviously I was hoping for 149. But this is where you move your stop loss up to break even, because you should be profitable if you did take that trade. The biggest thing I learned, and I learned this a very, very brutal way, is you don't want your green trades to go red, right? So there's so many times where, for example, that snap trade, right? It's up about 40%. I'll be like, oh, you know what? I want it to be 200 because I want to post a screenshot on social media. Even though that's not what I actually do, you kind of see those social media screenshots and you want to be one of them. But what ends up happening is throughout the day, it fades, and now your 40% goes to break even, and you're like, oh no, it'll go back up. And the next thing you know, you're already down 50%. And now you try to hit a home run. You had a double, but now you just struck out of the inning. So something you want to be careful of is, hey, follow your plan, and it's okay to get out. It's okay to break even. Traders say it all the time. You can't go broke taking profits. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Real quick here, SGRP 320, and they just took it. SGRP, this was the stock that I had called here. This was my best setup here on a 225 spike. We're now $1 above that. This thing is really going. Just took 320, and now it's pushing here 340. High a day is going to be 355. It takes that. Look out, folks. Nice. This was an absolute monster here. So here we go. Let's see if they actually take this. 355 is going to be your high here. Again, SGRP, multiple trades on this, multiple setups on this already today.
So you're taking the 350 break?
I mean, if it takes out 355, I think we pop. So I think that's a potential scalp. But the move here was 225. 225 was the move.
I see you've got a level there. So is that support or resistance for you at one point?
Resistance. The trade here was as soon as 225 falls, you're in. This ran quite a bit, and it's actually setting up again here now at 355. There's tons of volume in this, tons of interest in this. I mean, they're all here. So interesting here. If we can take out 355, we'll see. 350 here, big seller. They just cleaned out the big seller. Holy cow!
So you're watching the level 2 as well, it seems.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. I'm it's not even so much the level 2 so much as it is the time and sales. There it goes. Boom.
Nice.
Great. Wow. That was too fast for me, though. That was too fast for me. I'm not in that one. That they took that fast. This is what I mean. Sometimes
there it goes.
Here we go, folks. This is a monster. Not in this.
Beautiful call. Beautiful call.
This is the thing. When you see those big blocks get taken, when you see the time and sales, when you see all of those huge buys come in, they're going to push this more. I mean, look at the volume sticks on this. Like here, if we back out to the look at this compared to some of the other days. Like this thing can be pushed around for sure. They've taken multiple spots on this today. Great trader already today, man.
Wow. Dude, nice call. Even though I know you moved too fast for you to get in, that's awesome.
That's okay. Zunaid, one of the things that you were saying earlier, this kind of ties into this. You were talking about the snap trade where you definitely don't want to be red on that. A really important point here. If you miss something, that's okay. As long as you're not putting yourself where you're taking a huge loss or you're buying at the top and taking huge drawdowns, it's okay if you miss things. There's always going to be another opportunity. And Zunaid, to your snap trade, if it starts to go against you, sell it and wait for the setup to come back again. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is the same thing here. You miss one of the setups, wait for it to set up again. Be patient. Wait for the trade to come to you.
Great call. And especially we live in a world where there are zero trade commissions, right? Obviously, look, if you have less than 25,000, I can understand your pain. But again, go to a cash account. I'm sure Money Mitch has many evergreen videos coming up explaining all of that for you. Real quick, I did want to point out, Apple did hit 149.20. It didn't quite get to 149. Apple's one of those where I wouldn't really mess with it. So if I were in the trade, which I'm not, I would go ahead and take out 75% because you had a nice 60-cent move. And then again, the 25% that's remaining, I would just leave it at a break-even stop loss. But the reason I mentioned that is because of those psychological numbers. I know whenever I'm on with Spencer, we talk about those psychological numbers, such as the 50s, the 75, the 100s, the 200s, right? I think when there was that whole possible sex tape of Dave Portnoy, Penn fell to 100 and it bounced off, right? So those are numbers that you want to keep in mind. There's a reason that 150 got rejected the first time Apple tried. So that's probably a lot of what I look at in my setups is where are those psychological numbers so that I can get in or I can get out.
Okay. On the news front, I am watching Biogen here this morning. There is a big Alzheimer's conference happening. It's a 4-day conference. It starts today. Is the Alzheimer's Association International Conference. Biogen just released a bunch of materials. Here's the links are all in Benzinga Pro. You search Biogen BIB. There you go. They just released a bunch of materials for what they're presenting at the conference. You can go through that, or you can just look at the chart. The chart, I think, speaks for itself. I'm watching Biogen, and as a result of this, I'm also watching Sava, which is moving in the space as well. So keeping an eye on those two together. Remember, Biogen does have the drug that was conditionally approved and has since sort of gone backwards on that front because you got hospitals saying they're not going to offer it, and a bunch of members of the independent committee resigned after it was approved in the first place. But anyway, watching Biogen and watching Sava today and this week in relation to this big conference, expecting data out of Sava at some point this week.
Yeah, I believe that Sava data dump is Friday, Spence. That is going to be a big one. There are some other names too.
Yes, I can give you a few more. There's LGVN is one that's presenting. Longeveron, I think I got that right. ACIU. Again, I'm not saying these are going to have data right now, but to watch this week. ACIU, if you're into the biotech stocks.
SNPX is another Alzheimer's one there.
SNP, I didn't have that one on my list. Okay. SM or Nancy?
SN, yeah. Sandy, Nancy, Papa, X-ray.
Okay. Oh, okay.
SNPX.
On 18% today.
Also, I saw someone in the chat earlier mention any. I didn't get it. We were talking about something else. I didn't get a chance to comment on it. Great call, whoever that was. I can't remember the name. You called it earlier. It actually pushed up. He pushed from 310. He called it right around 310. It's been pushing up on volume, high of the day here. I think if we break 319, we might snap here again. Just wanted to shout that out, though. Great call on Annie. You actually caused me to pull that one up on the screen. No trade, though. ANY, exactly. Happy.
I haven't looked at CRISPR yet. How's CRISPR doing? CRSP. Quiet today at 1%. And then I did want to pull your attention to it was DOCS. It was moving. Docs, I don't Doximity. Don't know if there was call buying or what, but you had a big volume candle on the 15-minute. Big green candle on volume. DOCS. Clove is moving. Let's take a look at Clove. I don't look at Clover for.
I haven't looked at it in a while either. Okay.
All right. Yeah, nothing goes straight down. Clove had 3 up days in a row. Was that last week? It was.
AMC popping.
AMC popping.
Yep.
By Nickel, every time I heard that.
And it was stacking 9mm, by the way. Stacking 9mm. Good call on Annie earlier. That's pushing high days. Nice spot. Yeah, AMC pushing high days here. We'll see if this has some legs.
All right. Well, if you look at one, you got to look at the other. GameStop, right. Same story.
There it is.
Yep. Here comes that 200 rip out.
What, forget that?
I've been talking about it, that they take turns.
Yeah.
They take turns. If you really look at the charts, they take turns in their rips. One follows the other. First GME came, then AMC, then GME, then AMC. The next one's up would be GME. Just to kind of point out the pattern that's been showing on the pop outs for sure. I want to show really quickly a trade on EXPR that you could have made. I just want to explain it for day traders out there. This is the VWAP, that light blue line. A lot of the times when you get these big pushes on up, what I look for is pullbacks off that VWAP, and then you got to wrist down towards the support. One of the things that you can definitely do is start looking at the orders. Look for the orders to be stacking up near that level, near that 470, 468. You see the bidders really start throwing out the bids on those levels. That's what I really look for. Another thing that I'd look for in a stock like this is a big buyer to show up there when the turnaround comes. So like, let's say like this 475 mark, you probably got a big order to go through there. You had 161,000 shares on the 1 minute, when just 1 minute prior to that, you only had 28,000 shares trade. And so that usually shows a big buyer just getting caught up there, and then it pulls back. You can try to attack that buyer by just seeing him get caught there, looking for the bids to step in there. Usually he's probably adding some to his order there at that bid. So look for some big orders to show up there right at VWAP and then a quick recovery. You want to see it hold VWAP as soon as it gets back above VWAP. So like this one, when it gets right above it, it comes back. But even that little candle right here, it holds it and respects it. Then you can see the trend kind of continue.
I love it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of VWAP, so I'm glad you talked about that. Definitely use that. One of the only indicators I use.
Yeah, it's the only one I keep on my charts every day.
Right? Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me is I don't usually, unless I'm day trading, use it for a day trade. But what I use it on longer term is just to determine bull and bearish outlook for the day. Yep.
No, definitely accurate. By the way, if you were in that Apple short, the low that it hit, I believe, was 148.93 on that. So again, you went ahead and met your target of 149. Take your 75% off and then leave the rest at break even if you want, but you met your profit target. I'm going to call E-Trade afterwards and be like, why is your stuff sucking? Because I could not get in that trade. I suck at trading mobile, by the way. I just can't.
Me too.
Like,
Me too,
yeah.
I feel like I need my computer, otherwise I'm not.
I always feel like I'm about to hit the wrong button. You guys feel that way? I always feel like whenever I use the Webull app or Fidelity app, I feel like I'm somehow going to screw this up. I don't know how.
You need the iPad. The iPad made it a little bit better for me. When I had the iPad, it was a little bit better. But yeah, phone is too small.
Yeah, listen to Hab, guys. Smash that like button. We've given y'all like 4 profitable trades, no losers so far. You've seen everything from scalps being called out beforehand. Everything. Come on, smash that like button. And again, if you've made some money, feel free to tag us. Send us your screenshots. Please hide your account information and all that.
Shows at benzinga.com. Send us.
Tag us.
You send us a screenshot off a trade that we gave you. We'll send you a T-shirt. How about that?
All right, lucid. Let's bring it up.
Yeah, I know.
We got it, and it's on the run.
Yeah, there we go.
And guess what, guys? I'm still smacking myself because I got stopped out for 5 cents.
Oh, that's tough, man.
Wow.
5 cents on the pullback on Friday. I got stopped out at 80s when it went down to 78. And then just making the rip now.
Yeah.
So I had the look, just didn't execute. And I talked about it on Friday.
That's why as much as I love stops, I have mixed feelings about it because you throw a stop out there and you know that you will get triggered and killed.
It's just we could talk about it. Market makers attack your stop.
Yes.
They literally attack it. If they need to bring the stock down a little bit more, they'll just use their shares to bring it back down a little bit more. Scooped up that order, and next thing you know, it didn't even like click down there. Like you'll get the smallest amount of shares traded down there.
I know. It's
stopped out.
Full transparency. It looks like Scott said we did have a loser in DUK. If that's the case, my apologies. I was not aware. We gave you guys 1 loser and about 4 winners. So my apologies on that.
Reverse a little bit there. Yeah.
No one's 100% Zunaid. I actually don't even remember DUK. I wasn't
kind of see my thumb.
I think that was Mitch's fault. We'll blame Mitch on that.
Poor Mitch.
Ryan said he wasn't even paying attention. He was busy doing something else.
That's what we provide you ways to make money. Either you tail us and make money, or you fade us and make money.
Okay.
So one of those.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying. I'm repeating what you said.
Appreciate the.
I got duked.
Did you get stopped out though?
Yeah, I called it. I called it in the chat, but you guys were just talking.
He got duked. That was good.
Oh, you called it in the chat. Okay, so we did call it. My apologies. I didn't pay attention to it.
That's important though too, Mitch. That's actually a really good trade, right? You take a setup that ends up not working and you stick to your stop and get out so you don't take a beating. Man, that's important. That's important. There are plenty of times where you take trades, they just don't work. I mean, part of being a trader is mitigating your loss, protecting your capital. Not 100%. Every trade's going to work. So.
Live to fight another day.
Yeah, I mean, the first trade that I was looking at with FLGT, if I would have traded that off the VWAP, it would have worked. You see, so and then that's just how it is. A lot of the times, what I always say, and what it comes to show me is that, like always, guys, when you have a day trading strategy, I think you also got to start looking at the stock story, because a lot of times if you only trade off of technicals, what you get a lot of the times is some inconsistency because no one indicator is 100%.
That's right.
Yeah.
Richard
there you go. You got it. Yeah,
I was going to say
go
Richard
ahead.
Calloway is asking where you can find VWAP indicator for a stock. In Benzinga Pro, that's actually right in the indicators menu here.
Yeah,
So
I'll show you. So we got Duke up right now. Okay. And these are trading view charts. You go to indicators.
Perfect.
VWAP. Bing.
There you go.
Bada boom. There you go.
Got to put up our video that we just did. We just did an indicator video I just put out.
Drop it in
If
there.
you want to
Let
learn
the chat know. Yeah, let the
VWAP
chat know
a little bit more. MACD or RSI. I think those are the most common, I think, use indicators: RSI, MACD, and VWAP.
Yeah. And then moving averages, just kind of in general.
I don't really consider those kind of more indicators because they're on the top of my chart. I consider them more kind of, they paint the picture.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And guys, if you're wondering, like, hey, how did we know that options were coming in? What platform are we using? Obviously, we're using Benzinga Pro. If you guys want, you can definitely try it out. I just put the link in the chat.
How do we do that?
14 days. 14 days. And Ryan has some great webinars that's already pre-recorded. You can check those out on options, scanners, movers, signals, all of that stuff. And you don't even need to put in your credit card. So it's not like if you forget, you'll get billed or whatever. So check it out for 14 days. See if it works out for you. I know last week we dropped back-to-back exclusive news on VISA. That stock moved 20% the first time and moved, I think, 48% the second time. And that's exclusive to Benzinga Pro users well before other media outlets catch on and release those reports. So it's free. What do you have to lose? So sign up. The link's in the chat.
It's on the screen too.
It's on the screen as well. Thank you, Spencer.
Charge point looks like it might try to take out 24 here. Been ripping kind of off the open here. XPEV had some sweeps in it too earlier. Speaking of sweeps, and Zunaid, just to your point, I watch those all the time. 24 down here, by the way, 24 down on charge point. Let's see if we can actually move here. I watch those sweeps too. I mean, they even on stocks that I'm not familiar with. Sometimes it's just that idea generation. I see it, I react to it, or I take a look at it. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
What's your filter? What are your favorite filters for that? Because I know you have your own.
Yeah, so my favorite filters are on the calendar. In fact, let me see if I've got them pulled up here. I can actually just show you guys. It'll be a little bit easier. All right, so my favorite filters here are going to be days to expiration. One of the reasons that's the case is because that helps me come up with a time horizon for my trade. That keeps me in line so that I'm not kind of altering my trade plan midway through. That's a really good way to define what length of trade, what kind of trade, swing, day trade, et cetera, et cetera. Gotcha. But the two big ones that I really combine to find good plays or to start my research off are going to be total trade price. I generally like to see stuff over $250,000, maybe $200,000. Those are going to be those really big orders, those nice guys with huge resources. And then last but not least, volume over open interest. I like to put this at greater than 10. Little key takeaway here on volume over open interest. Please understand that the actual mathematical calculation is the size divided by the open interest, not the actual volume. We're talking about the size of individual orders versus the open interest. So I'll use that.
It's volume. So that's a key point you're making. It's volume of the average order, right?
No, it's volume of the actual order. So if you look in the
actual
calendar,
trade,
each one of these is a transaction. The volume over open interest number is the size of the individual transaction over the open interest for that day. So it's effectively giving you a measurement of volume over open interest ratio per trade, not just per name. Exactly.
So is it safe to say that the higher that number, I don't want to say the better the trade because that's not correct, but the more interest it is today than there was yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So let's walk through it here real quick. All right. Let's walk through it with this Chewy order. Right. So you had an open interest of 5 in this particular contract going into today. And then someone came in and bought up 533. So what this measure does is this tells me there are new eyeballs here at this strike.
I gotcha.
And that's where I'm going to start my search or my DD. Now I may not purchase that contract.
Can you zoom in?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you zoom in?
Yes, sorry about that, Spence.
No, it's okay.
That should be a lot easier to see. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to kind of finish that thought, I don't necessarily have to take this contract, but this contract is providing me some piece of information that I want to look into. So these are generally where I start, and you can see you can sort these columns by these values, and you can kind of just go down the line here. By the way, we're looking at some of these stocks here. Some of these stocks were ones we talked about: PDD, Snap, Chewy. There was another one in here that I think we mentioned. Did we mention Micron today? Maybe that was before.
I did not.
No. This is a good place to start off. Again, I try not to take one individual or try not to take trades off one individual data point, but this is generally one that's a pretty good start. Sometimes I do it just because it's fast. I'll see a name that I recognize, I'll have an edge on it, and I'll just go ahead and take it.
I love it.
All right, it's 10:30. I know Mitch has to hop out and get ready for SPAC's attack at 11. Zunaid and Ryan, if you want to hang out, great. If you got to hop, that works too.
But I gotta hop for now, but I'm gonna be back tomorrow. Can we do this again tomorrow? This is fun.
We can do this tomorrow. Yes, we
will see you. We will see you tomorrow.
I'll tell you what. If we get 600 likes, we'll come back tomorrow.
That's a good compromise, man. Good compromise. How many likes are we at right now?
We're at 525. We need to get up there to 600. We need 75 more likes if you guys want this crew on tomorrow.
I will give you guys some leeway. If we get to 600 both by the end of the hour, then we would.
There we go.
All right. You got a little time.
I want to see those screenshots. I want to see those screenshots. Tag us. Let us know.
Smash that like.
Yeah, send us an email, shows@benzinga.com. Or if you have questions about Benzinga Pro and you want to talk to someone, email onboarding@benzinga.com. That email goes to Ryan and many other people.
Yeah. I will say this, the biggest mistake people make is they sign up for the free trial, but then they don't know how to use it. Then you're wasting your trial. So make sure you send an email. Make sure you know how to use what you're signing up for, or else you're wasting your time.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah. There's so many webinars.
And there's plenty of people here at Benzinga to help you out. It's not only Ryan. I mean, you make the call. You're going to get someone to answer you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, guys. Zunaid, Mitch, Ryan, thanks for hanging out.
See ya.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
I'm going to make the
Spencer,
call right here.
Spencer has other personalities lined up already.
Maybe. All right. Thanks a lot. Ryan says,
stay green, folks.
All right. Stay green. Yeah. Stay green. Luke always talks about staying filled. Stay green. Forget stay filled. Just stay green. Right? That should be the name of the show. Stay green. All right. It is 10:32. We've got SPAC's attack at 11 o'clock. We got the power hour at noon. Get technical at 1. Moon or bust at 2. The At the Close show with Joel and I at 3:30. Money Mitch at 4. Trend Spider at 5. If you guys have not tuned into the Trend Spider chart roundup, you should. Jake Wujastic, if you follow him on Twitter, is a great Twitter follow. Does a really good job looking at charts and VWAP and volume shelves, and it's got a very unique way and I think a very good way of looking at technicals. And he spends a really long time analyzing charts. It's not like pre-market prep, we try to cover as much as we can, right? Jake will gladly spend like 10 minutes or more looking at one chart and what he sees. So that's every Monday at 5 o'clock right here on this channel, 5 o'clock Eastern time, in an hour after the close, the Trend Spider chart roundup with Jake Wujastic. Check that out. And then we have the Rail Report wrapping up the day at 7 o'clock. Okay, let me do this. I'm just going to hang out with y'all until 11. I don't see a reason to hop off before SPACs. So I'll just hang out. So normally we'd have David Green at this time. David Green is out for the week, so that's why we're just doing this. So let me turn on the Benzinga Pro Squawk. Come on now. There we go. All right. Squawk should be on. You should be able to hear. Let's bring up my scanner screen. So what I've got here is I've got 3 scanners, okay? On the top left, I've got top gainers from the open. On the bottom left, I have top losers from the open. And on the right-hand side, I'm using a preset, and the preset is 5-minute movers. 5-minute movers based on, you can see here, it's gainers and losers moving at least 2% over the last 5 minutes in a rolling window. Stocks have at least a $2 billion market cap. So I'm not looking at, crazy penny stocks here. So you can see based on this is FUTU. A lot of China today. A lot of them bouncing, right? We've seen this. Oh man. Look at TIGR. Look at all these things. All bouncing hard at the open. Right? Gained back all those losses from the overnight session. But be mindful. What does the trend tell you? The trend is still your friend. You can look at TIGR, which I know Luke was long for a minute, and Jason for that matter. Don't know. I don't think they still are. And as I said this morning, right, on the spectrum of Chinese stocks, Baba, JD, Baidu, probably your quote-unquote safe plays, quote-unquote. Obviously, no stock is 100% safe. And especially stock company based in China. But these are your largest, most diversified plays. So, but yeah, a lot of Chinese stocks bouncing this morning. You can see it in the up filter, right? Change percent from the open. Number one is TAL, EDU, DD, BZ, DAO. All these things, crazy. DOYU. Tencent Music. Look at Tencent Music today. Trying to close the gap from Friday. Can it? I bet you that's a selling area. What's Friday's close? Call it 1080? We'll call it 1080. My thoughts on INFL. Oh, God. I do not know this one. Horizon Kinetics Inflation Beneficiaries ETF. Whoa. I have never heard of this one. Okay. What I do when there's an ETF, this is relatively new, right? This year. That's the thing about ETFs. Is like there's going to be way more ETFs than there are stocks, if not already. There are new ETFs every single day. And yeah, it's such a low cost, like the barrier to entry is so low for ETFs. It's just so easy to launch them. And also, now that we got like that Buzz ETF a few months ago, right? That is sponsored by Portnoy. It wouldn't surprise me for a second if that just opened the floodgates. Now you're going to get like every celebrity under the sun is going to have, like Shaq is going to have an ETF, right? Shaq will have an ETF. Oprah will have an ETF. Everyone's going to be doing it. Anyway, what is this INFL actually hold? I'm going to have to Google it. I'm going to have to go to the site to find out, because I don't want to tell you something when I don't even know what the thing holds. This is a smaller issuer, Horizon Kinetics. I've heard of it, but I don't know what other funds they have. All right, holdings. Okay, top holding is CRL, followed by, okay, so these are all, I'm just scrolling down. So it's supposed to be an inflation hedging. Is that it? I mean, it's in the name. How's the fee on this thing? Expense ratio of 0.85%. All right. I wouldn't call that cheap. It's not crazy, but I wouldn't call that cheap. Look, a lot. Okay. My take is this, having never heard of this before 5 minutes ago. There is an ETF basically for anything, for any strategy under the sun. They all claim or try to do certain things, to hedge against this, to overweight that, to underweight that, to go up in volatile markets, go down in volatile markets, to hedge against this, to hedge against that. Generally speaking, what they say they will do or what they aim to do and what they actually do aren't always the same thing. Okay. This one is trying to be here. Let's read directly from the overview. It's an actively managed ETF. Okay. That's important. That seeks long-term growth of capital in real. That means adjusted for inflation in real terms. It seeks to buy U.S. and foreign stocks, and such as those whose revenues are expected to increase with inflation without corresponding increases in expenses. It's a good idea, okay? Does that necessarily mean the fund will achieve its objectives? Well, it's actively managed, so that presents its own challenges. We don't really have a track record. That's the problem. Show me a back test that didn't work, and I'll give you $1 million. Right? Because back tests always prove out a point. You can make a back test show whatever you want it to show. All right. I'm not saying this is not a good investment. I'm just saying a lot of these funds that target some sort of macro theme, it's difficult. It's difficult to actually achieve that. Right? So
Electric
here's Charles.
reporting new 30% tax credit for electric bicycles. Makes progress in U.S. Senate. Watching shares of EasyGo, Echo Zulu Golf Oscar, popping to the highs now. $3.38. That's Echo Zulu Golf Oscar again. Report from Electric. New 30% tax credit for electric bicycles makes progress in the U.S. Senate. EasyGo not mentioned in the article, but it would be impacted. Shares hitting a high of $3.60, up about 14% at the high. Echo Zulu Golf Oscar.
So just to put a bow on that, right? Wait, what? INFL, right? Okay. So just to put a bow on this, can this do what it says it's trying to do? Yes, it can. I don't know much about this issue, or I don't know much about the managers. And again, it's actively managed, so you're basically putting your money behind them to hedge against inflation. We don't have a lot of track record to go off of here, so it can work. This would never be a large position of mine. If it, I would make this like if you, so like I operate on like the core satellite approach where I've got core positions and I got satellites that rotate around it. This would be a satellite. This would be one that I would just rotate right around my core. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's so hard to try to predict these macro themes. And like even if you have everything right on paper, that doesn't mean you're going to outperform. So, and again,
Candy also makes electric bike. The Trail King.
Okay.
Still November Delta India.
And also, if the Fed is right and inflation ends up being transitory, then like, what are we really doing here, right? We're hedging against transitory inflation. I don't know. If the Fed is right, don't start calling me, a Fed truther, right? I don't know. I'm just saying, if the Fed is right, then a year from now, 2 years from now, we won't be talking about this. Okay. Thoughts on GOVT? Yeah, so I saw, was that you who mentioned that earlier, Kelly? I think that was you. So whoa, that looks like a heartbeat trade. Last week, is that what that is? Yeah, that looks like a big heartbeat. So what a heartbeat trade is, if you haven't heard of it, is
LEVI.
Damn it, Charles.
Levi Strauss, new long from Louis Navalier.
Okay.
Buy under $30. Says that's Lima Echo Victor India. LEVI.
Heartbeat
Shares of Levi Strauss off the highs now 27.32. Up about 2.75%. That's Lima Echo Victor India.
Heartbeat trades are just legal tax loopholes that ETF managers can do, and so there's nothing bad about this. It's just a legal way to avoid the holders of this ETF having to pay capital gains tax. I generally only look at the TLT as far as bond ETFs are concerned, because that's like the de facto trading instrument for Wall Street in terms of bond ETFs, right? GOVT doesn't have a lot of volume. I mean, it comes down to interest rates. Do you think they're going higher? Is the only question you need to be asking yourself. Are they staying low for an indeterminate amount of time? Or are they going to start going higher in a couple of years? That's all that matters. Charlie does that all day. He just interrupts you when you're talking. Yeah, it's what Charlie does. Interrupts you. Back to the scanner tool, TALRLX. They're still going? Yeah, sort of. WK Harris. Yes. It's not a question of, I don't think, beating versus missing estimates. I think, generally speaking, let's be honest, more often than not, companies beat the estimates. Generally speaking, consensus estimates are low. More often than not, companies do beat, and there's been research about this. But what I'm more interested in, WK, is not the actual numbers, but in the stock's reaction to the numbers, right? So, for example, we saw Twitter and Snapchat do opposite things on Friday, right? Both reported on Thursday afternoon, both crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. Twitter gave back some gains and is leaking more today. Snap held up very strong on Friday. And we saw what happened this morning, right? We had a little double bottom there at 74 whatever. 74.27. 74.30. So Snap held up, Twitter did not. I'm much more, and I don't know why that is. But I don't really care why that is either. So I'm more interested in the reactions. And I don't know, I haven't looked into it. I don't know what the reactions, generally speaking, have been this time around.
NA Moderna hitting the intraday lows now. Michael Romeo November Alpha.
And if I ever get another shot at this, I won't miss it. Okay, it's 350. What can you do? This is kicking myself over this one. Don't do that. It's not healthy. My thoughts on MSOS. Yeah, my thoughts haven't changed. You believe
NAOV, November Alpha Oscar Victor, Nano Vibronics ships first order of Pain Shield Plus. That's November Alpha Oscar Victor.
If you believe in cannabis legalization on the federal level in the U.S., which I do, is coming.
Nano Vibronics says expects to recognize revenues from product in Q3 of 2021. That's NAOV.
Then I believe in these companies. I believe, I think we live in a world where the big get bigger at the expense of everybody else. And this is an ETF that gives you exposure to the largest cannabis companies in the U.S., right? The largest multi-state operators. That's what MSO is, multi-state operator. And if you believe that the big get bigger, as I do, then why not just own a basket of the biggest ones? They've got the most capital.
EasyGo Technologies making more new highs now, $3.79. Up 21% now on that report of potential 30% tax credit in the Senate now. Bill in the Senate now for that. Shares at $3.82 at the high. Echo Zulu Golf Oscar.
WK, are you talking about the direction one, which is LOPX. Is that what we're talking about? That one just opened a couple days ago. Ford, they report this week, don't they? They're on Thursday, I think, or Wednesday. They're on Wednesday after the close. Whew. Well, a bearish channel, obvious, right? You always got to think about with Ford is like it's historically such a slow, stodgy stock. For Ford to go from 8 to 16 in what is that? In 6 months, that's huge. Ford doesn't do that, right? Look at Ford for the last decade. I mean, yeah, you've got that dividend the whole time. But for Ford to double like that in 6 months is a huge move for a slow, stodgy stock. So based on that, it wouldn't shock me for a minute if you get just, tradetherange.com in this thing from 10 to 15 or whatever for the next year. I think if you're bullish Ford, I think you're asking a lot of it to get past that recent high. What was that? 1550? 1645? I think you're asking a lot of Ford. If you're relying on Ford to be a big mover for you, I think look somewhere else. Oh, Iron Condor? Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst idea. I've never put on an Iron Condor before. It just seems too complicated for me. I mean, not complicated on paper, but like in practice. Is Chris Capri going to be on today? 1:30. Chris Capri will be on today. Shelly Serrano. That's it. On Get Technical. Speaking of other shows, if you guys missed on Friday, it was Doge Day here at Benzinga. We had one of the founders of Dogecoin on the Moon or Bust show. Highly recommend watching that. Guy seemed like a super nice guy to me. That was on Friday. And a full slate of interviews and content coming this week. If you missed our webinars, we're doing a lot more webinars now about Benzinga Pro, about our other products. That we had 3 webinars over the weekend. I recommend going through I'll even show you right now how to do it. All you got to do, it's not rocket science, go to youtube.com/Benzinga TV. There is the screen. You go to videos. See all the recent content. Webinar there, webinar there, webinar there. There we go. All right. Let's go back to the Pro. So what I'll do is I'll hop off in a few minutes. SPAC Stack will be live. Follow by Power Hour, Get Technical, Moon or Bust, and then I'll be back with you guys at either 3 or 3:30. Not quite sure when. Somewhere in that window. And then just a reminder, I put this link in chat earlier. We are doing one of the first, if not the first, pre-market
Easy
prep.
Go halted at the highs now, $4.05 on a circuit breaker, up 29%. That's Echo Zulu Golf Oscar.
Pre-market prep webinar, August 21st, which is a Saturday, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time. Link is in the chat right there. Check it out. It is not sold out. And yeah, Joel, Dennis's boss, Rob Friesen, will be there. So 3 full hours of Joel and Dennis on a Saturday, if that's your bag, which I think it is for most of you. If you missed our Benzinga Bootcamp and you want to catch up on it, go to benzingabootcamp.com. Recordings are available. Not for free, but they are available. And yeah, that's basically it. Thanks to Tim Quast for joining us today, as always. And of course, Matt Hammond. Guys, Matt Hammond's his research, I think, is incredibly valuable. I don't know of many other people doing the kind of granular research he's doing on IPOs, and he's not, coming at this from a point of view of is it a great company or a bad company? He's saying, will it be a good trade? Is there a trade there, or is there no trade there? And that's why I love what Matt does, right? He comes at it from a short-term perspective, which I think a lot of us want, frankly. Like researching IPOs, buying IPOs, for the long term is kind of a crapshoot. But for a trade is a whole different ball game, and that's his game, and he's very good at it, I think. So it is a big week on the IPO front, of course, with Robinhood. We'll be watching that. They're making a lot of their float available to the public, so it should be interesting. That's on Thursday. Great boot camp. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that.
Easy go, shares spiking to $4.68 after resuming. And shares are again halted.
Charles is all over this.
Shares still trading. Correction on that. Pulling back now. $4.43. Echo Zulu Golf Oscar.
Charles is all over this one today. And then there's the other one, right?
Very heavy volume now. Following that electric report.
Wow. KNDI too, which you mentioned already. If you're paying attention. Big moves. Big moves. What's going on with energy? I don't know. COP. Let's go. Let's zoom out. XLE. Having a good day. Doesn't Schlumberger, didn't they report Friday, right? I imagine that. Or did they report on last Friday? Exxon, Chevron, and I think just those two report on this Friday. End of the week. Pretty sure Schlumberger reported last Friday. Okay. Thank you for confirming that I was right. So anyway, all sectors up today. I mean, no, I shouldn't say the whole market's up. Market's flat. Russell's up. Dow is down. S&Ps are literally flat right now.
Easy go, hitting $4.98. Echo Zulu Golf Oscar up about 50% now.
Jeez. Holy cow. Off of a tax credit headline? Let's go back to a few minutes ago. 30% tax credit for electric bicycles makes progress in the U.S. Senate. Makes progress? Makes progress. So we don't even have anything. We just have a bill that's making progress. Okay. Okay. Great. Let's buy a stock up 50% on a bill that's making progress. Jeez. Will we cover Tesla earnings? Yes, CG, we will. We're going to do new things. Well, we've already begun doing the new thing. We're going to do, or be doing more streaming of these earnings calls. So Tesla, let's look it up. The earnings call is tonight at 5:30. We will be restreaming that call at 5:30 Eastern time. Welcome to the machine. Yep, that'll do it. So yeah, if you want to hang out, listen to Elon Musk talk about, how much Bitcoin they own at 5:30. Come hang out with us. Crazy stuff. All right. I'm going to hop off. I've been on with you guys for 3 hours. It's been fun, but I got to cede the floor to SpackStack. So please remember, all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Thanks to Tim. Thanks to Matt. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Ryan, Zunaid, Mitch. And that's going to be a wrap. Everyone, stay green, right? That's what Ryan said. I'm going to adopt that. Stay green. And I'll see you guys later.